Self-discipline develop mental toughness and focus on achieving your goals. Learn daily habits to program your mind, build self-confidence and willpower, manage anger, and become highly productive. Introduction. During our day-to-day activities, we may have overheard people stressing that self-discipline is paramount. Matter of fact, a life without self-discipline is similar to living without wisdom and knowledge. You can't succeed. The question is, what exactly is self-discipline? Self-discipline can take many forms. It could be in the form of persistence and discerning before taking any action. It can be doing whatever we had planned to do. It can also be endurance as well as doing what is required of us even if there are barriers overcome. Therefore, to be self-disciplined, we must possess the traits of self-control. The most recognizable aspect of self-discipline is the capability to shun immediate returns or pleasure for a more long-term return gained after a more extended period. This shows that you have complete power over what you love, and you can control your feelings, although they can be stronger at times. Therefore, self-discipline is about enduring some discomfort or resisting temptations of doing what seems more comfortable. The word self-discipline is known to cause uneasiness and resistance because of the mistaken belief that it is hostile, hard to achieve, and requires a lot of input, as well as denying oneself life's pleasures. Self-discipline is the opposite. It is pleasant, comfortable to achieve, and does not require a lot of input, not to mention the numerous benefits involved. Limited self-control does not mean a prohibitive way of life as specific individuals might suspect. It has nothing to do with being an extremist. It is an inward quality and backbone that is crucial for managing the issues of everyday life and for the accomplishment of objectives. Self-discipline, together with determination, can enable you to beat laziness, lingering and hesitation. These aptitudes make it conceivable to make a move and continue with it, regardless of whether the activity requires exertion. Self-discipline empowers you to practice balance in what you do, become increasingly persistent, tolerant, understanding, and prudent. It enables you to become self-restrained. A self-restrained individual is increasingly reliable and puts additional time and exertion in what the person does. A self-restrained individual is bound to assume responsibility for his or her life, set objectives, and find a way to accomplish them. Strong willpower and self-discipline are fundamental directions for expanding both self-restraint and resolution. These are abilities everybody requires for making progress. Here are a couple of statements about this significant point. Self-control starts with the dominance of your contemplations. Provided you don't control what you figure, you can't control what you do. Self-restraint empowers you to think first and act a while later. Napoleon Hill, control truly implies our capacity to get to perform unintended tasks. Arden Malberg quoted, "Self-control is a type of autonomy from sluggishness. Opportunity from the desires and requests of others, break from shortcoming and dread and uncertainty." Self-restraint enables a pitcher to feel his uniqueness, his internal quality, his ability. He is ace of, as opposed to a captive to his thought and feelings. What is not self-discipline? Self-restraint is accomplishing something regardless of whether you loathe it or do not have a craving for doing it. Accomplishing something since you appreciate it does not equate to discipline. Numerous months prior, I began a workout routine, where I needed to get up ahead of schedule and complete a concentrated exercise. Indeed, it's merciless in the first couple of weeks. Inevitably, you get somewhat accustomed to it. Months after the fact, the propensity is there. I do it consistently. However, it doesn't mean I like it. I absolutely would like to rest that additional hour. However, control is driving me out of my bed and into the exercise. When you comprehend that, you will most likely never like doing whatever it is that you need to do. You can begin to manufacture extraordinarily extreme self-restraint. If you practice self-discipline today, you will feel extraordinary about it in the future, and it will be effortless. On the off chance that you anticipate that it should be hard, yet you push through each and every time, you will be practicing discipline that will benefit other parts of your life. This is the place you can start to make real changes and reach your dreams. Self-discipline is similar to a muscle. The more you practice it, the more you become accustomed to it, and the further you can propel yourself. Much the same as you can't lift the most significant loads immediately, you need to work your way up. Begin with something little to get your feet wet. Become acclimated to the possibility that accomplishing something that you would prefer not to do, or that you will never like, is okay. Indeed, it's through this action that you will accomplish your life's most noteworthy victories. At that point, after some time, you can continuously add more to your rundown of activities that you don't especially like. You will feel accomplished, and this translates to self-respect. Accomplishing something that you totally would prefer not to do is simply a definitive method to express train in its most flawless structure. Remember that you will most likely never appreciate doing it, however, if you continue doing it, the prizes that you will procure will be a long way past the measly little fulfillment that you get by not doing it in any case. If you can wrap your head around this idea, you are assured to dispense groundbreaking self-restraint into your life, which will change your goals from being a fantasy into sheer reality. A brief history of self-discipline. In 1978, instructor Dr. Tree Tanner wrote the content, Classroom Discipline. She provoked teachers to put the word self into dialogues concerning train. 12 standards were recommended as rules for guardians and instructors to use in reconsidering their jobs as slave drivers and educators of self-restraint. 2 instructors, Barbara Vasiloff and Paula Lenz, with more than 40 years of consolidated showing knowledge, acknowledged this test and made Dr. Leather Treater's hypothesis functional. The after effects of their endeavors ended in the arrangement of the 15 self-restraint abilities that are utilized as a structure for settling on choices about an individual's development in self-control. This edge work is the core of the Discipline with Purpose program. Since Discipline with Purpose was framed in 1984, it has turned into a broadly acclaimed program that is right now being instructed in several schools by a considerable number of instructors, guardians, and understudies. After finding out about the 15 self-control aptitudes, a 5th grader commented, "I constantly needed to act naturally taught. I was oblivious on how to arrive." Are you free? Discipline is the skeleton upon which opportunity is based. Possibility implies that you intentionally grow an ever-increasing number of alternatives throughout your life. You need not to accomplish something you'd like to do now so that you can improve. Discipline fundamentally implies the controlled articulation of our life power. When we discipline our psyches by arousing and restraining the resources thereof, we become insubordinate. The only evident opportunity in presence is restraint, accomplished through self-control, which is living in arrangement with the divine law composed inside us. When we are self-restrained, we are free to apply our wisdom and love as we explore life. Self-restraint requires unwavering commitment and accountability. Presently, the reasons alone are never enough. You will likewise require a steadfast pledge to doing whatever's required to achieve your objective. This is once in a while simple. Long-haul responsibility takes discipline, and ordinarily, this is not something that the vast majority of people are great at doing without anyone else's input. What these individuals lack at the fundamental level is a bit of responsibility. A long-term commitment to something necessitates that we consider ourselves responsible or we have another person consider us responsible for our activities. Either of these strategies will work. Nonetheless, when they work in the mix, that is the point at which you'll harvest the best outcomes. If you aren't excited about waking up every day to get down to business, then you can overlook building up any propensities that enable you to be beneficial and productive at work. So, what method can you use to make an energizing daily practice? Right off the bat, make a propensity for getting up ahead of schedule. Ensure unwavering commitment and accountability. To do whatever is required to accomplish an objective, you will need an enduring commitment. In any case, duty comes simply sometimes. Instead, it requires discipline, which is something the vast majority can't accomplish independently from anyone else. One approach to train yourself to guarantee steadfast duty is making yourself responsible for your activities. By guaranteeing responsibility for your actions or your disappointments, you will have another reason, another drive, and somewhat more energy in your life. Build up a sense of responsibility. How you work and the measure of work you achieve every day relies upon how substantial your awareness of others' expectations is. You access work on time, invest your best exertion, and complete assignments/ventures as well as could be expected. Keep in mind, nobody will do your work for you and neither will anybody drive you energetically. You should do this without anyone else's help. If you need to create a positive, hard-working attitude, stay away from lethargy or stagnation. Build up an awareness of others' expectations that urges you to move. Make a move, change, and develop. Nonetheless, this will possibly happen when you settle on individual decisions and get moving. Additionally, make a point not to mistake apathy for simplicity. Apathy will yield challenges and difficulties over the long haul. You will be the one to fault for it because these issues would have been dodged had you built up an awareness of others' expectations and ventured up your game. Ensure this does not transpire. Guarantee persistency. Perseverance is one of the essential things required to construct a stable or restrained hardworking attitude. You come up short on this quality if you can't remain concentrated on an assignment for long or rapidly wear out after a brief time of work. Much the same as it is critical to assemble perseverance for a race, building tirelessness is required to rouse yourself to work for longer time frames. While guaranteeing persistence is significant, you should offset industriousness with times of rest. This is to your benefit. Regardless of whether you have a positive, hard-working attitude, working for 11 or 12 hours in a row is never a conventional methodology. In any case, preparing yourself to work for such long work periods will guarantee that these periods appear to be shorter to you than they are, which will make work more straightforward and less unpleasant for you. Act with good purpose. Working without a final product is a no. Abstain from going in circles doing work that won't lead you to the ideal results. Set up a reason and afterward guarantee your activities are lined up with it. Plan each workday ahead of time, in a perfect world toward the finish of the last workday. In the meantime, seek out your motivation. Discover approaches to build up a reason or set up clear objectives on the off chance that you don't have an apparent reason or objectives. When you've set up the reason and objectives, guarantee that your workdays are lined up with these needs. When you begin to think about potential activities, consider which ones will matter in a year or something like that. Devote a large portion of your time or workday to activities that you expect will help you the most in accomplishing the set reason and objectives. A robust, hard-working attitude is required to accomplish profitability and be fruitful at work, and this hard-working attitude is a result of taught work propensities rehearsed day in and day out. The approaches to make these propensities and assemble a dependable, hard-working attitude are referenced previously. By adoring what you do makes these propensities simple to acquire. Self-discipline requires penalties and rewards. Our inspiration levels regularly undergo back and forth movement as we seek our objective. At specific occasions, you will feel incredibly spurred, while on different occasions, you will battle to traverse explicit undertakings and exercises. To abstain from falling into these cycles, you should set up specific punishments and prizes. Disciplines and grants can be utilized to help direct your conduct for the day. You can, for example, remunerate yourself for settling on specific decisions or for sharing in particular sorts of practices. In like manner, you can punish yourself for enjoying different sorts of practices or for settling on poor decisions. These punishments and prizes will add another component to the heater that will keep the fuel of self-restraint consuming for the day. Do you recall your school days, when your instructor disclosed to you that you ought to have the self-restraint to be useful at school, and you feigned exacerbation? Presently self-control is what is essential. In any case, what is self-restraint? Self-restraint is tied in with preparing yourself to pursue principles and guidelines that help you to accomplish your objectives. It improves your profitability. Self-control causes you to remain centered for an extensive period. Initial steps for creating self-control. Self-control isn't a component that is given during childbirth. It resembles a muscle that you should prepare. So, you need to extend some push to get it into the propensity. Most significantly, you need a motivation behind why you do something. A powerful urge, inspiration, and motivation are fuel for self-restraint. Without them, there are fewer materials to create self-restraint. You ought to ask yourself, what is my objective? Why do I need it? Why should I try these endeavors? Personal standards. Individual principles matter when you progress in the direction of your objective. They impact your conduct, activities, and decisions throughout the day. That is the reason you should lay out measures that you'll maintain. Ask yourself, what norms will I maintain? What norms will I not acknowledge? What decisions will I acknowledge when I get off track? These inquiries are imperative to make concurrences with yourself. It'll make your life way more straightforward, with stakes and motivating forces. Sometimes, the circumstances around you may get you off track. It might occur, because of our inspiration frequently rhythmic movements. To keep away from that, you ought to build up punishments and prizes framework. For instance, you may remunerate yourself for the specific sort of the conduct or for settling on the right decisions, without uncertainty. This way includes a tremendous exertion since it's difficult to change yourself. Charles Duhigg, the creator of The Power of Habit, clarifies that propensity practices a bit of the cerebrum related to feelings, examples, and recollections. Choices, then again, are made in the prefrontal cortex, a unique region. At the point when conduct moves toward becoming propensity, we quit utilizing our basic leadership abilities and rather work on autopilot. In this way, getting out from under a negative behavior pattern and building another propensity not just expects us to settle on dynamic choices, it will feel wrong. Your cerebrum will oppose the adjustment for what it has been customized to do. In this way, buckle down, and you'll, without a doubt, accomplish your objective. Identify what you want. You ought to comprehend what you need to change or get. It very well may be a propensity that you need to create or an achievement. That will enable you to prevail at work. So, ask yourself the significant inquiry, what do I need? And the appropriate response ought to be precise. Begin with little things. Consistently state that this year will be extraordinary. You can do this year, yet you can't make a huge difference in your life on the double. What's more, after you chose to create self-restraint, you'd not wake up as an alternate individual. Arm yourself with persistence and pick only a specific thing. Make a list. You ought to comprehend what you should do to accomplish your objective. Understand what it's going to take to get where you need to be and create steps to get there. What's more, begin your day with a rundown of undertakings that you have to achieve. It tends to be a daily agenda, yet an arrangement for multi-day. It ought to contain everything from browsing messages to shopping. Monitor your achievements to see the improvement. Inspiration. In case you truly need to change your life, recollect that you're a grown-up. Grown-ups don't lounge around and hold up until somebody guides them, they get it done. Only trained individuals succeed. So, resist the urge to panic and buckle up. Chapter 1. What is self-discipline? People often struggle with self-discipline because they must step out of their comfort zone to improve themselves. It is a work in progress that you will focus on every day of your life. You won't be perfect at it every day, but you will always do your best, and this is exactly what you need to do. It is always important to take the success along with the failures, as this shows your progress. What is self-discipline? Self-discipline is controlling your own thoughts, emotions, actions, and desires through self-improvement methods. The goal is that you will focus on developing your self-discipline by trying to better yourself every day. Learning self-discipline is not easy, but you will quickly notice the benefits and strive to better yourself in order to keep those benefits in your life. Many people see self-discipline as an uneasy and difficult road to follow. As someone who has worked on developing their self-discipline for years, I will admit it is not easy. There are days where you find yourself struggling more than most to stay in your disciplined mindset. However, once you gain the willpower, you will find a strategy that works for you. You will find yourself practicing self-discipline throughout your day. It will become a natural part of your routine. Self-discipline is not denying yourself life's pleasures. It is not making sure you always walk in a straight line along your life's path. There are always bumps, curves, and even some potholes that you need to navigate and that might take you a bit off course. Self-discipline is a pleasant experience that you will find achievable. You will start to notice some of the benefits within days of working on your self-discipline, which will start to keep you more focused. In many ways, self-discipline is part of the puzzle of your life. Sometimes you lose the pieces and you need to look for them, sometimes they are right in front of your face, and other times it seems they fall from the sky and directly into place. Self-discipline is one of the most important life skills for people to develop. Many people, especially those who have mastered self-discipline, compare it to a superpower because it allows you to remain mindful of your actions, thoughts, and emotions. Mindfulness is when you are aware of everything going on in your environment, especially yourself. You notice if you ate enough, you know when you start to feel overwhelmed, when your thoughts are negative, or when you are tired and need to rest. Mindfulness and self-discipline go together, you cannot have one without the other. This is because the opposite of mindfulness is mindlessness, which is when you are not aware of your environment, thoughts, emotions, and actions. Take a moment to think about when you are driving your regular route to work, the grocery store, or your friend's house. You are used to the scenery and know exactly where you are going, so you let your mind wander. When you park your vehicle, you ask yourself how you got there because you don't remember part of the route. This is an example of becoming mindless. If you are mindful, you would remember everything about your drive. Self-discipline and willpower. Do you feel that you're lacking the necessary inner strength to persevere or take action? Do you have certain habits that you like to change, but your lack of inner strength prevents you from doing so? If your answer to both questions is yes, then you're not alone. There are numerous people who have the same problem as you. Fortunately, your willingness to cultivate both willpower and self-discipline can significantly help you. Both self-discipline and willpower, along with your high level of confidence and motivation, are crucial in your attempt to attain success. It promotes personal growth while also allowing you to make a huge, positive difference in your life. All of them are helpful in attaining not only your major goals but also in fulfilling simple, daily tasks. So how do you cultivate both self-discipline and willpower? Below are some useful tips. Get rid of all potential temptations. Keep in mind that willpower is a limited resource. That said, it's crucial not to waste it. Each time you force yourself to say no to temptation without removing it from your sight, you are also gradually depleting your willpower. The problem is that it often takes some time to replenish it. If possible, get rid of everything that you find tempting so as to avoid losing your willpower, requiring you to replenish it all the time. If you love TV shows too much, but you need to complete a project for your boss within a month, then it would be best to remove anything that will tempt you to watch your favorite shows, instead of doing the project. You can unplug your TV from your wall, so you can no longer see it. You may also choose to stop your cable subscription. If your goal is to eat healthier foods, then let go of junk and processed foods, especially if you're used to eating them before. Remove them from your sight and fill your kitchen and fridge with healthier food options. Doing so can help strengthen your willpower to stick to your new habits. Improve your ability to handle stress and pressure. Learning how to handle stress and pressure is crucial if what you're aiming for is to build a high level of self-discipline and willpower. Extreme pressure and high stress levels that are left unmanaged can use a lot of your body's energy. This can cause you to make decisions not rationally, but impulsively and instinctively. You will most likely make decisions based on short-term satisfaction only. That said, improving your ability to handle pressure and manage stress is one of the most vital steps in boosting your self-discipline and willpower. The good news is that there are several ways for you to let go of stress. One is to stop occasionally, especially if you're doing a stressful task. Take a break and do some breathing exercises during those breaks. Do these each time you feel too overwhelmed with all the tasks you need to do. This is just a simple step, but it plays a huge role in effective stress management and in boosting your willpower. Other things that you can do are yoga, meditation, and regular exercise. You may also start reducing your commitments to prevent yourself from getting too overwhelmed with all the pressure that usually come with them. Create a solid plan. When you notice your willpower starting to get depleted, you can always go back to the plan you have developed, as well as the goal you have set, so you can mitigate the negative effects of lowered willpower. While it's true that even those who have developed the most solid plans are still at risk of failing, since there's actually no guarantee that you will be successful all the time, having it around will help keep you move forward despite challenges. This means that you'll continue trying until you see all the steps in your plan taken into action. Eat and hydrate well. You have to eat well to prevent your self-discipline and willpower from depleting. Note that nutrition is extremely useful in the proper functioning of your brain. The brain cells that are working to retain a high level of self-control also require sugar or glucose. If you have low glucose, then there is a risk for your brain to respond strongly to instant rewards. This causes you to disregard your long-term goal. Fortunately, it is easy to maintain a healthy level of glucose in your body. All it takes is to consume balanced meals with the right amount of fiber and protein. It can also raise your energy and keep you mentally alert, thereby preventing you from succumbing to potential temptations and making impulsive decisions. Hydration is also essential to overall nutrition. Note that a lack of water can hamper your cognitive performance. Water is crucial whether you are in your class, in the workplace, or at the gym. You need around 1 to 4 liters of water daily to ensure that your mind functions well. There are also times when people confuse thirst with hunger. In case you feel hungry even if it's not yet your mealtime, consider reaching for 1 glass of water instead of a snack. You have a lower risk of losing your willpower and self-discipline by letting your brain and body function at their best. That's possible through a healthy and balanced diet and proper hydration. Get enough sleep. Getting enough sleep is essential in allowing your brain to manage your energy more efficiently. It also plays a huge role in ensuring that your prefrontal cortex works at its best. Depriving yourself of sleep, which usually happens when you just get less than 6 hours of sleep per night, can cause you to experience chronic stress, which tends to damage the way your brain and body utilize energy. Your prefrontal cortex suffers the blow the most, causing some parts of your brain, especially those that form cravings and stress response, to lose control. You can prevent this from happening by ensuring that you get high quality and enough sleep each night. Go for 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. Sleep researchers prove that those who get enough hours of sleep actually live happier and longer. They are also more productive. This is the main reason why even the best athletes, who need to have the highest level of self-control and discipline, have their own sleep couches. This helps ensure that they still get their needed amount of sleep despite all the training that they need to do. Adequate and quality sleep can also prevent you from dealing with excessive tiredness that may only impair your awareness, reaction time, and damage. It should also be noted that lack of sleep can change hormones that regulate appetite in your body. This can also impair your metabolism. That said, it's time to make it a habit to have enough sleep each night. Improve the flexibility of your mind. Having a more resilient and flexible mind is crucial in boosting willpower. You can improve your mind's flexibility and resiliency by embracing changes and accepting challenges. With this improvement, it will be easier for your brain to form constructive responses to stressful circumstances. Your goal should be to direct your mind to what you want to achieve, especially for the long term, instead of letting past failures and setbacks control you. Make the most out of your imagination. Using your imagination is one of the most powerful techniques in boosting your discipline and willpower. Note that your body has the tendency to respond well to situations that you've imagined similar to the situations you actually experienced. For instance, imagining that you are currently in a peaceful beach allows your body to respond by relaxing. Imagining that you arrived at a meeting with your presentation unprepared may also cause your body to tense up. Your body's reaction to your imagination is actually useful in improving your willpower. If you're dieting, for instance, then there's a great chance that you feel more intense cravings plus other effects, like minor irritations. It is mainly because your mind can make you feel like you're deprived. In this case, you can use your imagination, imagining the negative effects of not following through your diet plans, to deal with cravings and other factors that hamper your willpower and self-control. When implementing the tips, keep in mind that no matter how smart and talented you are, you will still have a hard time reaching for your goals if you don't have self-discipline and willpower. You need to develop self-control as it helps you in balancing your immediate wants and needs and your long-term goals. While cultivating discipline and developing strong willpower is not that easy, you can't expect it to happen with just one meditation or relaxation session. Note that performing certain practices on a regular basis is helpful for you. Just like other things in life, trying to establish more meaningful and purposeful habits requires a lot of commitment on your part. With strong willpower and discipline, it will be easier for you to stick to your goals. Chapter 2. How to develop self-discipline. Adding self-discipline into your relationships, work ethic, nutrition and fitness is needed to be happy, lead a healthy lifestyle, and accomplish goals. Feelings and impulses should not dictate your choices. It should be informed and rational. Of course, you can train yourself to be self-disciplined. Through practice and repetition in your everyday life, you can create good habits, dissolve bad ones, and improve your decision-making process. This way, you live a life that's free and full of healthy choices. Self-discipline is not inborn. It is just like a muscle that toughens as you work out over time. Here are ways to improve your self-discipline. Understand your motivation. First, before you can develop self-discipline, you should have a strong desire to accomplish a specific goal. A strong desire fuels self-discipline. Something needs to inspire that change. To stay focused on your path self-discipline, there must be a compelling reason why you are taking on a project or task. What do you want? Why do you want it? Why precisely do you need to get it done? What desired outcome you have in mind? This could be a habit you want to develop or a goal you want to achieve. The more compelling your reasons, the stronger your self-discipline. Eliminate temptations. Your self-discipline can be stronger when you follow the out of sight, out of mind principle. This means doing your possible best to remove all distractions and temptations from your immediate environment. Trying to adopt a healthy diet? Toss out the junk food in your fridge. Want to become more focused while studying? Switch off your smartphone. Adopt a healthy and regular diet. Scientists have found that your resolve lessens whenever your blood sugar is low. When you are hungry, your ability to concentrate is impeded because your brain isn't working at its highest potential. Hunger not only reduces focus, it also drives pessimism and grouchiness. A poor diet can affect your self-control in all aspects of your life, from relationships to work. With healthy and regular meals, however, your blood sugar level is regulated, and your concentration and decision-making skills are enhanced. Do it even if it doesn't feel right. To improve your self-discipline, you must be prepared to change your regular routine. This is often difficult and painful for many of us. The thing is, our habit behaviors are linked to the basal ganglia, a part of the brain responsible for memories, patterns, and emotions. However, our decisions are linked to a separate area of the brain called the prefrontal cortex. When a behavior turns into a habit, we go autopilot and stop using our decision-making skills. So, to break a bad habit and build a new one, you have to make active decisions. This process often feels wrong because the brain will fight the change and stick to what it has been programmed to perform. This is why you need to make active decisions even when you don't feel like it. Procrastination plays a great role here. Self-discipline says, do it now. While a reprieve is good, embracing procrastination means sinking deeper into stagnation. Channel your energy into what matters the most and keep anchoring yourself to your goal. Create an action plan. To achieve your goal, you need to create an effective action plan. This plan must come with mini milestones and a reasonable deadline. Mini milestones help you splitting your goal into manageable chunks, moving toward your goal in small pieces at a time. This way, you remain in control of the goal, and you are not overwhelmed. By taking one step at a time, you simplify the process and begin to build momentum. An overwhelmed mind easily procrastinates. And procrastination is a major stumbling block to self-discipline. Therefore, your action plan must have progressive steps and small wins as you edge toward your goal. A deadline gives a sense of urgency and focus. Your path to self-discipline should have a practical deadline. A clear deadline disciplines your focus. When there is a specific end date, your energy and resources are appropriately used in maintaining the needed momentum to follow through with your actions. Have a self-disciplined mindset. Your state of mind is connected to your self-discipline. There are specific qualities, such as optimism, courage, enthusiasm, excitement, passion, diligence, passion, patience, and diligence, you must imbibe. You must be committed to doing whatever is necessary to achieve your goal. You must be prepared to enjoy the process and make it a part of you. Likewise, a self-disciplined mind knows the essence of priorities. A disciplined life is all about flow and structure. By focusing on the most important thing, you are less likely to get sidetracked with irrelevant stuff. Visualize your desired outcomes. Being self-disciplined in one specific aspect of your life is the goal. Keep visualizing that desired outcome. This gives greater clarity about your goals and the actions needed to accomplish them. After you have defined your goals, imagine how you would feel when it comes to fruition. There is power in visualization and imagination. By creating a mental image of your target, you have taken the first step toward making it palpable. Note that visualization is not the same as daydreaming. Visualization is built upon detailed and outlined goals. A daydreamer only fantasizes without lifting a finger toward any plan. When you visualize, remove all self-doubt. To be self-disciplined, you must learn to go head-on, leaving no space for negative thoughts to crawl into your subconscious. Monitor your progress. Appreciate every progress you make toward your goal. Whether you are making use of a journal or calendar, track every progress, and measure your growth. This will keep you focused and motivated as you reach your milestones. And even when you fail to reach a milestone, tracking your progress helps you see the adjustments you need to put in place to get back in the game and the pitfalls you have to eliminate. These pitfalls are often natural. The most important thing is learning from them and moving forward. Find out the possible roadblocks and challenges that may pop up along the path to self-discipline. Take into account your weaknesses and commit time in sharpening the skills needed to overcome those lacking areas. Be accountable and committed. You need an unwavering commitment to accomplish any goal. Long-term commitment powers self-discipline. But because there is often no accountability, we quickly lose commitment. Accountability is a focal point of self-discipline. For long-term commitment, you need someone to hold you accountable for your actions. A friend, family member, mentor, or even a fitness trainer. Someone trustworthy checking in on you to assess your progress. This second motivating voice goes a long way in helping you achieve your goals. You should also be accountable to your standards. Something to keep. You're straight when you go off track. As you find someone to hold you accountable, you must also hold yourself responsible for your everyday decisions and choices. Also, look out for role models, family, friends, and colleagues, who have previously accomplished the goal you desire. From coaches to professors to even colleagues, many people are better and more experienced than you are. These are people who have gone through your current situation. Rather than stumbling about in the dark, toying with trials and errors, there is no harm in asking for help and direction. Using their experience and learning how they followed through with certain actions that got them these goals, you can work self-discipline into your personal journey. A supportive environment is important. New habits are easily formed when you have people to keep you committed, inspired, and focused. Commitment fuels self-discipline. No matter what challenges lies ahead, you must ready to stick to your goal. One thing I have found useful is to make a public commitment. For instance, I told several family members, friends, family members, and colleagues about my plans to stop smoking. This way, I was held more accountable for my actions and I was helped to stay disciplined along my non-smoking journey. But commitment is never about your final goal. You have to be committed to each step that would lead to that goal. To avoid smoking, for instance, I did not just go cold turkey. I had to be committed to preventing gatherings that would prompt to smoke. I had to attend nicotine anonymous meetings, use NRTs, and so on. Committing to little actions means being consistent with many habits that would culminate yours in the final goal. This way, you can avoid getting sidetracked, sucked into the trap of instant gratification. Be forgiving of yourself. Self-discipline is hard. There will be up and downs. The most important thing is to keep trying. Acknowledge your setback and move forward. Instead of lingering in frustration, anger, or guilt because you slipped back into a bad habit, forgive yourself and get back in the game. The longer you mourn your failure, the harder it becomes to get back on track. That little voice inside your head, the one that always reminds you of the negatives, is capable of dragging you down to the gutters. Most times, we are our own enemies on our path to self-discipline. We put ourselves down and think we will never be good enough. Learn to forgive yourself. As simple as it sounds, forgiving oneself is one of the hardest things there is. But it's the most important. Understand that nobody is perfect. We all have our insecurities. But life needs not to be perfect for people to be happy about themselves. There is a virtue in acceptance, working to be better, and contentment. Avoid the trap of perfectionism. Perfectionism is a self-sabotaging force. Perfectionism tricks us into thinking we are actually making progress. Perfectionism, in the real sense, is a defensive mechanism that shields us from doing the real work. To see perfect, we focus on the trivial tasks that give us some semblance of control. Thereby, we keep fooling ourselves into thinking we are exercising self-discipline. Expecting a lot from yourself is a good thing, but perfectionism can have a paralyzing effect if not properly handled, a roadblock toward your progress and achievements. While, on the surface, being a perfectionist sounds nice, you have a keen eye for details, always looking to surpass expectations and focused on the next big thing. However, there are several ways in which perfectionism can serve a roadblock for you. When you strive for perfectionism, you may end up procrastinating about the goals you are even passionate about. Because you spend a lot of time conjuring the perfect vision of how things should be done, you become overly detail-oriented and obsess about every issue. Soon, because it is painful expending too much energy on that project, you push it away and wait for that perfect moment, which may never come. Another issue with perfectionists is the problem of skewed reality. Because by setting a high personal standard for perfection, they tend to expect more than what is realistic. Because they keep exhausting themselves physically and emotionally to achieve that perfect outcome, they end up missing the big picture due to their immense self-expectations. There is a deep sadness that plagues most perfectionists. The desire for precision can create feelings of misery daily. Anxiety will always ensue when you keep obsessing over the outcome of a goal or when you keep beating yourself up about a slip-up. You eventually become dissatisfied and trapped, regretting even the smallest of things. In other words, perfectionists tend to keep battling depression, questioning their self-worth based on their output and performance. When you are always striving for perfection, there is a chance that you are disregarding your health in the name of achieving the perfect result. To beat a deadline or adopt a habit, you practice self-neglect, allowing your health to fail over the years. Finally, perfectionism can lead to compromised relationships. A perfectionist may put work above his or her loved ones and can be over-demanding of them as well. Perfectionists are also prone to lash out when things do not go their way. To overcome the roadblocks of perfectionism, consider focusing on what truly matters in your life, stop defining your self-worth by a list of accomplishments, and see errors as a chance to learn. Chapter 3. Motivation. We all want to achieve something, so we set up a goal and try to accomplish it. But you would surely accept that setting up a goal is one thing, but turning that goal into reality is completely different and a hard process. We often set 1,000,000 goals to fulfill, but at the end of the month, most of the goals are become abandoned by a precious number of people. When we set a goal, we often tend to get dreamy about it. We sit back and get us into the fantasy land, where we dream ourselves as winners, with all of our goals accomplished. But after some days of the initial enthusiasm, we forget to light up that fire inside ourselves. If you really want to be a successful person, you must keep the fire lit within yourself. To stay motivated, you must need some outside stimuli. That's why we're offering you some ways to help you do that. Write down the reasons behind your claim. As you list down your goals, write a few reasons why you want to accomplish it. This will give you a fair purpose not to give up. Name those things you will be able to do after accomplishing your goals that will give you some inspirations and will energize you. This will also help you to track the progress of your journey. This is very important for people to be aware of why they have been performing the tasks. Give yourself a reason to smile. Smile is the best remedy of all sorts of negative impacts that we have in our life. So, whatever happens to us, we must not give up the habit of smiling that keeps us alive even at the darkest hour of our life. This concept is also applicable in this case of gaining motivation to focus indomitably on your goals. Though we have many negative issues to deal with in our daily life, but there are a lot of reasons too for making ourselves refreshed from the dilemma of internal and external affairs. Here the smile acts as the mentor of those small but everlasting memories that opens an affirmative doorway for us in the world surrounded by downwards conceptions and chaotic mentality created by conventional maintainers. To keep your smile fresh and active, you must follow some healthy habits that are both philosophically and socially very wealthy. First of all, you have to find always the positive sparks not only in the outer world but also within yourself that always gives you to be one step ahead from where you generally belong to. It is only possible when you make your mind free to deal with any kind of situation in your daily life. When you become habituated by that kind of activities, you become also a person to keep yourself positive through the appearance of a smile in your face. Secondly, don't take the pressure to make others happy through your personal choices. Your personal choices are mainly built up to refresh your mental situation apart from outward belongings. So, if it is combined with outward, it is spoiled, and moreover, the people would interfere in your own world, and it will make a negative impact on your mind. According to the need of globalization, one must follow some attitude to deal with this particular era. One of them is diplomacy. You must be diplomatic to make yourself perfect to the outer world, and on this occasion, you should always think positive about anyone you meet. But don't let them understand your drawbacks. Maintain your grassroots beginning. It is no doubt that success is the most preferable option of life that is inhabitable, and the way of this ultimate goal is not comfortable so much. It is like a staircase where you have to achieve the sky view through one by one step. So, you have to start with an impression of learning from experiences. It will make you confident about yourself because in this process there will no gap exist in your way to achieve the goals. Always think yourself as a learner and keep yourself ready to enjoy new experiences. Judge yourself first. A mistake is a part of your activity. As we all know, failure is a pillar of success. So, it is very essential to identify your mistakes, learn from them and rectify them as soon as possible. But here, one thing keeps our road blocked. That is the way of judging, not of oneself but the others. It is a very negative attitude in the field of application. Sometimes it makes you to give lame excuses against your fault and complaining about others and make them responsible for the act. So, you should change this attitude. You must judge yourself first and make yourself eligible by collecting them with your sincerity and attentive behavior. It will also help you to focus on yourself. Otherwise, your motivation would be diverted, and it will be harder to achieve your dreaming goals. It is also a public relationship motto that we should always maintain in every field of our life. When you judge others and cover your faults with lame excuses, it spoils your social relationships and affects your cooperative surroundings. The consequence of this act will make you suffer from helplessness during the time of vital assistance. So, always find your own fault by examining own attitude and behavior and make it perfect and more acceptable to the people you surrounded by. Overcome your fear. Each and every moment we have to step forward to make our life affirmative and successful. But it is not an easy process. There are many obstacles found in this way of success. Some of them belong to the external world which can be ignored or solved by our attitude, determination and liabilities. But some of them make their residence within our sense. These are more harmful than the past, because we have to fight with them without any external support. One of them is fear. Though the word is very small to hear, but it is one of the most harmful terms that make us inactive and downward throughout our life. Fear cannot be objectified. We can only feel it according to our situation. Though it is an abstract object, but in our practical life, it decreases our determination and makes us think from a negative corner even at the door of our success. Fear can be categorized into many parts. One thing is clear. Whatever the fear is, we have to fight against it all alone. Sometimes we can share our situations with the dearest ones. It will give you an assurance that fear is not the only element that exists within yourself. So, during the investigation, you should also find out your positive skills that will definitely defeat your fears and make you think affirmative about yourselves. Chapter 4. How to manage your time productive efficiently. Why you cannot manage your time efficiently. Managing your time effectively is an important part of self-discipline. If you are unable to manage your time properly, you will not be able to accomplish the goals that you wish to complete in life and work. Time management is something that most people are taught in school. However, it is often not taught to them efficiently, and those that fail can contribute their failure to lack of time management. By putting pleasure above workload, you are creating an imbalance with your time management strategy. This means that you are using instant gratification as your driving force instead of long-term gratification. Those that are in balance will experience greater happiness, less stress, and more financial freedom. Time management is the act of prioritizing the tasks that you must do in a schedule that is specific and calculated. Several mistakes are made by those that fail at time management. Each one of these mistakes is listed below with details on how it will affect your life. I have also included ways to combat these failures. Mistake: personal goals have not been set. Your personal goals pertain to the goals that are specific to your needs and your desires for the future. So, what is it that you want to do in the next year? What about the next 5 years? You can take this even further and determine what you want to do in the next 10 years. This will help you to schedule your time wisely so that you can begin to build upon your goals. This is an essential part of managing your time and building a foundation for your future. To reach your destination, you will need to have a vision of what you want. This vision will help you to make small achievable steps to accomplish all the things that need to be done to get you to the result. This helps with management of resources as well as priorities that are necessary for a proper SMART goal. These will also help us to determine what is the most important tasks that need to be done first as well as the things that you need to avoid so that you do not have distractions. SMART goals are goals that are specific, measurable, accountable, realistic, trackable. By setting goals for each one of these categories, you will be able to build a foundation for discipline and goal setting that is sustainable. Mistake: not scheduling your tasks by priority. It is extremely hard to understand prioritizing the tasks that you have in a proper and functional manner. If you are currently working on an important task, then you need to stay focused and not allow distractions to interfere with your train of thought. This means if something comes up that is not life or death, then stay focused and determined and not to be sidetracked. Then when you are done, you will be able to handle the situation that arose while working. This allows you to show priority to the things that are most important at that time. In those moments when you find your secretary or assistant presenting you with another task to complete, you should inform them that you are in the middle of a task already and will place this one on the list in the proper prioritization category. If your children interrupt your train of thought while working on something important, then simply ask them to wait their turn. This is a simple way of showing priority over a situation that seems dire but is not. False emergencies will arise throughout your day. The key is to prioritize properly so that you do not allow distractions to interfere in your workday progress. Not all things will need to be immediately started or accomplished. Some things can be put off till a better time presents itself. So, consider what the most important task is and finish that before being distracted by other things that are less important. By prioritizing the tasks that you need to do, you are learning how to manage your time efficiently. This can lead to a more concise and steadier schedule. Determining what is most important for completion within your workday is crucial to accomplishing the tasks at hand. Place those things that are most important within prominent spots on your schedule and at times that you are most alert and energized. This will ensure that you have completed the important work first and then you can tackle the other work in a systematic order. Mistake: distractions are interfering with your focus, and you fail to manage them appropriately. It is scientifically proven that you will lose at least 2 hours out of every day due to unwanted distractions. Consider how much time you are losing in your day and determine if you are wasting more time than you are utilizing properly. Are you distracted easily? Do you find that others interrupt your focus regularly? Is there something that you can do to avoid being distracted? Distractions are an inevitable part of work. When you work in an environment that involves several co-workers, then you will be faced with the distractions that stem from interruptions, meetings being called, and sometimes tedious and pointless social interactions with others. These things can be avoided if you have a private office where you can close the door and limit the interaction with others. By placing a closed-door policy at your office, you are able to instill some boundaries and guidelines that will help you to avoid distractions from others. Inform your office staff that if the door is closed, then you are not to be disturbed. This sets a precedent on when and how they can approach you for questions and complications as well as any other distracting interactions. However, make sure that you do not keep the door closed all day since they will need your guidance throughout the day. In order for your workday to run smoothly, you will need to have the channels of communication open and running smoothly. However, setting a time of day that you need to be left alone is optimal for continued focus on your workday without distractions. Another way to avoid distractions is to be fully in the moment. For instance, do not handle emails and work-related stuff during dinner with the family. You also do not want to handle family-related stuff during your workday. This will place you in the right time, right place mentally. Do not allow emails, IMs, phone calls, or other distracting communication to interfere in your mealtime with family. You also do not want to be interrupted when dealing with work-related times or those times that you are super focused on the task at hand. Find a balance between personal and work hours. You need to have a proper balance and flow when it comes to your schedule. To balance your schedule, you need to determine what is most important for that day. When you are able to be 100% in your current task, Then you will be able to provide more focus to that task, which makes completion effortless. By not allowing distractions in your workday, you are allowing yourself to be focused on completing the work you are assigned promptly. By minimizing distractions, you can gain the control you need to work through the day and complete the best work that you can for that specific project. There are a few things that you can do to avoid distractions. Turn off your instant messaging options on the computer. Turn the sound off on your phone. Shut down all social media notifications. Shut your door and inform coworkers that you are busy. Place a Do Not Disturb sign on your cubicle. Have an autoresponder for emails so that you can alert others of your focus and that you wish to be left alone during this time. And communicate effectively with the other members of the team and schedule a specific time that is distraction-free during your day. Mistake: avoid procrastination. Avoiding procrastination is important to your ability to complete goals. You will need to gain focus and discipline to build a foundation of growth. You will eventually feel guilty if you are spending more time in procrastination and less time accomplishing your goals. If you dread doing tasks, then you will struggle to get to them. But eventually, this will catch up to you, and you will have to explain why you are either always late with work or rushing to get things done. A good way to avoid procrastination is to set a time for beginning the project or task. I often find that if the task I need to do is something boring or tedious, I will tell myself, in 15 minutes I will get started. This sets a time limit on how long I have until I need to start working on this specific task. I will also schedule out each task that is needed to be completed so that it is not overwhelming to me. Many procrastinators feel as if they need to complete the tasks they are assigned all in one go. This is not always an easy thing to do and can be very overwhelming. So instead, schedule the steps that you need to complete the tasks you are assigned. Locate the most important parts of your tasks and begin with them instantly. Do not put off what can be done now, especially if it is difficult. This will create a pattern of procrastination and decrease the quality of work done. Once these more difficult tasks are accomplished, you can start on the much simpler tasks with motivation to complete the full project. This also allows you to knock out those tasks that are dreaded, first and foremost. This allows you to put more effort into the tasks that need the most focus right away and provides an easier completion of the assignment. Another thing you can try is an action plan. Action plans help you plan out the actions that you need to do in order for proper completion. This makes the project and the steps more manageable. This will also allow you to see the steps that you need to take in a visual format. It makes your whole process much easier and less overwhelming. Ways to manage your time. Know what your goals are. Know exactly what the goals you wish to accomplish are and how you will achieve them. You should sit down and make a list of the short-term goals that you have on one side and the long-term goals that you have on the other side. Once you have established these, then you will need to start making a plan that is revolving around the steps that it will take to achieve these goals. There are many ways to set goals. One way is to compile a list in a journal or notebook that will hold all the steps and details that you need to know about your goals. I find this is the most effective way to do this. Since I have written down my goals, I can then go back and monitor my progress. Set a priority for all your projects wisely. Prioritizing the steps that you need to take is crucial to know what to start on. This can be done by following this simple tutorial on prioritization. Start by categorizing the steps into 4 categories. Important tasks that are urgent ones. Important tasks that are not urgent ones. Urgent tasks that are not important. Tasks that are not urgent as well as not important. An important task that is urgent would be something that you would need to have done right away. A task that is important which has no urgency is a task that appears especially important but does not necessarily need to be completed right this second. An urgent task that is not important is one that is super important to complete but once completed creates extraordinarily little impact. Then you have the tasks that are not urgent nor important. These tasks are super low on the priority scale and only offer the illusion that they are busy work. Start with the first one and write 3 to 4 tasks that fall under this category. Then, write down the ones that fall in each additional category. Then, you will start to work towards completing these tasks in a timely order. Once you complete one of the tasks, mark it off to show that it has been completed. This will raise your motivation and give you something to celebrate. Celebrate all of your wins so that you gain the motivation to keep pushing forward. Learn to say no more often. No is a super hard thing to tell others, especially when you can see they are clearly in need. But sometimes it is for your own good that you say no to others when they try to overload you with tasks that would otherwise be completed by them. Many people will try to get you to help them, especially if you cannot say no. If you start to say no more often, be prepared to piss some people off. They will find that you are being selfish, simply because you will not do the things they should be doing for themselves. The night before, clear your desk and your mind of that day's work activities. At the end of the day, take a quarter hour to clear your mind and write down the information that you obtained that day as well as record the important tasks that took place and what needs to be completed still. This is an excellent technique for decompressing after a long day or completion of a task. You should feel much more empowered while sitting at a desk that has been wiped of all the preceding day's workload the next morning, especially when you walk into work the next day and only have to focus on the day's tasks. When you arrive at the office in the morning, arrive earlier than you traditionally would. This should be several minutes early. Then use that time to prepare a list of prioritized to-dos for that day. This could result in the most efficient use of your mornings as well as a more productive time period during your workday. Let the distractions which interfere in your day be completely eliminated. Begin to pay close attention to those times that others are more distracting throughout your workday. Track any interruptions that are induced by yourself, especially those that tend to be of the social media type. Your smartphone can be an extremely helpful device to have. However, the smartphone is additionally an addictive device. It will take an exercise in self-discipline to shut out the distractions that can be causing loss of focus on your tasks. This limits your ability to maintain the proper focus that is needed to complete your work. Eliminate immediate access to smartphones, the internet, and outside communication with others. This helps you to maximize the productive time that you are spending in work mode. Rather than living as if you are always on, set up an opportunity within the day to catch up on incoming email, contacting clients back, speaking with employees, and all the other distracting activities that derail your progress. Delegate the tasks that you cannot do to someone else more times than not. If you have diligently hired the right and most talented employees, then you should have a dedicated and hard-working staff. This will help you get much of the work checked off of the to-do list, once you start to delegate the assignments. Managing a smaller business can depend on your abilities to maintain faith in your employees, and the ability to trust that the tasks will be completed appropriately and on time. This limits your involvement in the operation of each said task without having to delegate or micromanage each person. Exploring every opportunity, delegating business's responsibilities is a great way to maintain your workload and show the team that you trust their judgment and work ethics. This also increases morale and pride in their work. Keep track of your productive hours and the time that you spend focused on one single task. How many minutes per week are you cramming in productive work? By using an easy-to-fill-out a timesheet, you will be able to identify the moments that you are productive and the moments that you are not. This allows you to have a quick in and out process for clocking your time. This also allows you to process the varied tasks that are in your day. Note down the jobs done for each day with a process that allows you to record the steps that you took and empty your mind of the tasks that you just completed. This opens your mind for the coming tasks without any hindrance or distraction. You can utilize a mobile app or a written time tracking system that is directly connected to your desktop. This will give you the ability to have reports of your time spent in each task as well as examine the productivity that you have had overall in your day, week, and month. This is also a great way to track the time of your employees as well. Chapter 5. Improving focus and concentration. Of course, what is self-discipline without any focus? You must be willing and able to focus if you want to ensure that you can, in fact, figure out how to be self-disciplined. After all, how can you really and wholly dedicate yourself to making the right decision if you cannot focus on what is right in the first place? When you cannot focus, you cannot really make a meaningful, practical decision because you are not giving anything the actual levels of focus and attention that they would deserve. The state of focus is one that is fleeting for many people. They struggle to find that state in which they are so incredibly engrossed, they fail to ever make the proper decision in the first place. Focus is that feeling when time ceases to matter. It is that time in which you are so completely in tune with the world around you and what matters that you do not feel like you are wasting major amounts of time. Your entire mind is homed in on one thing to ensure that you can, in fact, make that decision without wasting time. What if you could turn that intense focus on at will? Think about the potential that you would have to succeed. You would be able to succeed simply due to having the drive to do so, and that is important. You would be able to completely and utterly engross yourself in that particular activity, and because of that, you would be sure that you could actually make what you wanted to happen actually come into fruition. You would be so absorbed in what you are doing that it hardly seems like work in the first place. You are too busy focusing on what you are doing to notice that the time continues to creep by. You do not feel the fatigue that those around you seem to feel because you are naturally engrossed rather than constantly forcing your mind back to it. The benefits of focus. When you learn to be self-disciplined and therefore focused, you begin to reap all sorts of benefits in your life. These benefits include, you get stuff done sooner, just by virtue of not having to jump around so much with what you are doing. You often find that whatever task that you have on hand at any given moment becomes infinitely easier. You do not struggle to make sure that you meet your tasks because you simply do them without worrying. You do not find that you feel tempted to check your phone for messages every 2 minutes, nor do you feel like you need to flip-flop between several tasks at the same time. This means that you can focus entirely on one task at a time and make it happen quickly and simply. Your work improves, along those same lines. When you are focused and entirely dedicated to what you are doing, you will find that your work gets done better. You focus on one task entirely, and that means that you are able to really give it the attention it needs in order to double-check all of the necessary details. You will be able to focus without mumping around, so you will be able to ensure that you have made the appropriate decisions and given it the appropriate amount of focus in the first place. Your stress levels decrease when you are no longer concerned about how to get your work done because you are focusing entirely on it. You will very quickly find that you are able to better regulate yourself. You will be able to avoid being stressed because you know what you are doing, when to focus on it, and how to make good use of your limited time in the first place. You will make sure that you are avoiding outside stressors simply due to not paying any attention to them, and you will also recognize that you can better ensure that everything is done according to command. You allow the subconscious to take over. Your subconscious mind is almost like a co-pilot for your body. You and your conscious mind are obviously the pilots, but your subconscious is along for the ride, taking care of all of the lesser tasks that have to occur. If it is muscle memory, your subconscious mind will do it. When you strongly focus on what you are learning to do, you teach your subconscious mind how to do what you are doing. Over time, your subconscious becomes capable of activating automatically and taking care of the brunt of the repetitive, mindless work. The struggles of focus and how to defeat them. When you struggle to focus, however, you start to see problems. Focus is something that is, unfortunately, in short supply these days. You cannot often find the focus that you need without intensively learning to do so. Focus has been dwindling as the need for it has dwindled. Even cars have begun to take away some of the mental loads for drivers, allowing for uses of sensors, cameras, and other articles that will directly manage the road right around you for you. There are some cars that will even auto-manage, so you are kept in the right lane, so you do not have to do it yourself. With focus being hit from all around you, you are going to find that you struggle. You are inundated with advertisements when you try to watch a 3-minute video online. The advertisements may even last longer than the video in some situations, and you are likely to see at least one in the middle as well. When you see these ads breaking up the video that you are watching, they damage your focus. They remove your focus from what you were looking at in hopes of telling you, at least subconsciously, to buy their products. They try to snipe you away from actually making sure that you make good choices with your money, and that can be a problem for you. This is exactly why it is so important to learn how to focus in general, and why self-discipline puts so much focus on the art of being able to focus in the first place. Thankfully, even if you currently lack the mental capacity to really focus well, you can learn to do so. You can develop your ability to focus, training. the brain to really harness its abilities to stay on one task before switching to a new one. When you learn how to do this, you will find that you can create the sharp focus that you need to avoid the distractions. You will be able to cut out all of the distracting stimuli from around you to ensure that at the end of the day, you will be able to achieve your goals with ease. When you want to learn how to focus, the most important thing that you can do is ensure that you repeatedly correct yourself. Every time that your mind wanders, you must be willing and able to pay closer attention to what you were doing. You must return your wandering mind to where it belongs. At first, you may feel like you are desperately trying to gather up a bunch of ducklings on a mat, and every time you set 2 down, 3 more take off running. You may feel like you are fighting this impossible uphill battle. You may worry that you cannot possibly manage to develop this focus to the capacity that you need it, and that can be absolutely terrifying. However, rest assured that you can learn how to focus. You can learn how to guide your mind and ensure that you do not let it wander constantly. You can learn how to keep yourself on track and focused, so long as you remember to teach yourself to be self-disciplined. Chapter 6. Build mental toughness. The process of building mental toughness takes dedication and practice. The progress and improvements that you will see in your mental toughness will take time and a significant amount of practice. The amount of mental toughness that you develop is dependent on whether you practice these techniques and focus on developing mental toughness for a specific goal with a set date, such as joining the police force or becoming a professional athlete, or whether you want to hone your skills by slow and steady progression with the intention of putting them to use over a lifetime. Take a long, hard look at yourself and evaluate who you are. One exercise that you can do to enhance your mental toughness is to take a good look at who you are, your values, and your beliefs, and see if you are living up to those values and beliefs in your daily life. This is part of familiarizing yourself with yourself. Most people believe that they know themselves, but many are surprised to find out that they might be wrong. You may have done things a certain way for so long that you have never thought about why you are doing them. They are just habits. You could have gotten them from your parents when you were young, watching other people, television, and more. You may believe that these actions and thoughts say a lot about you and your values, but they may not say as much as you believe. This is why it is a good idea to take a long, hard look at yourself and evaluate who you are. You may find out that you are a little different than you originally thought you were. Examine things about yourself, such as your personality. What are some of your character traits? What is your personality like to you? What do the people around you think of your personality? Where do the answers to the last 2 questions differ? Examine what emotions you need to control and what emotions you need to show more of and develop further. Your values and beliefs. Take the time to identify and examine your core values and beliefs. What are they? Be as specific as possible and jot them down. After writing down your values and beliefs, it is a time for you to try to access why these are your core values and beliefs. Is it because they were your parents' values and beliefs that were handed down to you? Are they the same values and beliefs that you had when you were a child? If so, do they still apply to your life today? Really take the time to think about it so that you can assess whether these values are a good thing for you to hold on to and aspire to as you try to achieve your goals. Don't let old values and beliefs keep you from achieving your current goals. Many of the values that you had when you were younger may have been due in part to your age, the experience that you had in your life and the current state of society. You may have outgrown these values and belief, and they may no longer apply to you. Don't let other people's values get in the way of you achieving your goals. We often have adopted values that were essentially given to us by other people. Our parents taught us their values. Some of our values were learned from our grandparents. School teachers gave us some values. We pick up some of our values from church when we were younger. These values sounded good and allowed us to fit into with the people around us, but were they and are they still your values as well? It is difficult to work toward achieving values that you do not really believe in. Thus, it is very important to assess who possesses these values that we believe that we hold now. Next, ask yourself this question: are you living up to your values and beliefs? If the answer is no, then you need to step back for a second and figure out where the problem lies. Why are you falling short of living by your values and beliefs? The most common answer to this question is that the values and beliefs that you have identified are not truly your values and beliefs. However, they are great ideals that you believe make good values and beliefs. Are your values in line with your goals? For instance, if you value church, Christianity, and putting out positive messages, becoming a rapper is not a goal that fits with these values. When your values and your goals do not align, it is important to determine which one is more important to you and which one needs to fall back so that you can get on your way to achieving your goals or aspire to other goals. You cannot have this conundrum and effectively pursue your goal because there will be a lot of times when your values conflict with what you are asked to or need to do to succeed, unless you want to be a Christian rapper. Develop a belief system that is conducive to you achieving your goals. Restructure your beliefs so that they are in line with your goals. Some of your core beliefs should center around hard work and developing drive to push on and succeed. When your goals and beliefs work together and complement each other, the mental debate that would take place if they were in conflict is eliminated. It is completely counterproductive to have a belief system that is not in line with the goals that you have set for yourself. Your belief system should push your goals forward. Identify your strengths and weaknesses. One way to build mental toughness is to identify your strengths and weaknesses. Ask others for their honest input about what your strengths and weaknesses are. Seek constructive criticism from those around you. Knowing your weaknesses will help you know where to put your focus. Since it is concerning mental toughness, be sure to ask questions and assess areas which are directly related to mental toughness, such as emotional balance, emotional intelligence, mental clarity, drive, focus, and more. After identifying your weaknesses, write a step-by-step plan to improve upon each one of these areas so that you can become stronger in these areas. Get other people's opinions as to whether you have any other weaknesses that are not listed so that you can improve upon areas in which other people around you believe that you may be falling short. Do not allow your mental energy to be wasted. Part of developing mental toughness is to develop the ability to focus and eliminate the mental clutter. Learn to differentiate between problems and issues around you that you can do something about, and the ones that you cannot. Anything that you cannot do anything about should not be a focus in your mind. You need to accept these things so that you can move on to concentrate on the things that you can control and change. Also, problems and issues of little significance should not be a focus that weighs on your mind and keeps you from doing other things. Do not concentrate on trivial things that have little to no impact on your life. This will only weigh your mind down, cutting down on the focus and the time that you can give to other things. Avoid being a perfectionist. You need to do things well, and to the best of your ability in life. However, there is a line that when crossed is obsessiveness. Everything does not have to be perfect down to the last detail. Take some time to evaluate how significant the details are about a task or project that you are working on to avoid obsessively trying to be perfect. Perfection is not the key to success, it is the key to obsession, and it should be let go of in order to develop other more important things that are going on around you and in your life. Actively eliminate your negative thoughts by finding positive thoughts to replace them. Write down negative thoughts when they creep into your mind. When you are trying to accomplish a goal or simply when you are going throughout your day, negative thoughts may creep into your mind. These negative thoughts get to you, the more and more you have them, and they make you less likely to believe that you can achieve and excel at the goals that you have set for yourself. One active step that you can take to eliminate some of your negative thoughts and their confidence-draining effects is to write down your negative thought on a piece of paper. Look at the though and read over it. Is it accurate? Notice what time you experienced the thought and what brought it on. Was it talking to someone that has a negative effect on you? Was it looking at someone who you believe may be more talented than you? It is important for you to notice everything about what brought on the negative thought so that you can understand why the thought crept into your head. Write all of the negative thoughts that you have in a day down in a journal so that you can see how many negative thoughts creep into your mind during an average day. Do this for a week so that you can notice what days of the week are the best and which are the worst. Where do you tend to be when you have negative thoughts? Maybe consider carrying a mini tape recorder with you so that you can make a note if you have a negative thought at the grocery store. After writing down all of your negative thoughts and analyzing where they come from and the basis for them, assess what type of an impact of effect the negative thought is having and will have on your performance of your daily tasks and your achieving the goals that you set out to achieve. Be sure to notice any patterns that may appear with negative thoughts. Are all of your negative thoughts centered around one goal? If so, this may be a sign that you should let this particular goal go. If something that you want to achieve is always causing you to have negative thoughts, evaluate why these thoughts are raised with this particular goal to see if the goal is one that is worth having. Are your negative thoughts surrounding a person? Sometimes all of the people in our lives are not good for us and we need to take stock of how a person affects our life before we make the decision on whether or not to keep the person in our life. A toxic friend or a toxic relationship can take a toll on your emotional and mental toughness and consume a significant amount of your thoughts. This is a problem that needs to be solved effectively and fast so that you can be more productive. And oftentimes, the solution is cutting the person out of our lives or keeping that person a farther distance away. If this is what it is necessary to do, then make sure that you do this in order to maintain and develop your mental and emotional strength so that you can live a productive, fulfilled life. Come up with positive thoughts to combat some of the negative thoughts that creep into your mind. Think about your strong points and the good things about you and around you. that can counteract the negative thought that you are having. Make a list of these positive thoughts and keep them in a journal as well. Try to make sure that your positive thoughts always outweigh your negative ones. Have a ceremony to let go of the past. If you often find yourself thinking about past events and occurrences in your life that have had some impact on you, whether they were positive or negative, this is counterproductive and not a valuable use of your time or your mind. Still, it is often hard to let go of the past. We often stay stuck in certain moments in our past and relive them in our minds, sometimes even years after. We may dwell on or obsess about past mistakes, wishing that we could go back and change them and thinking about how great our lives would be if we could. But no matter how hard you wish that you could do something to change the past, there is no way that you can, and you have to live for today and tomorrow, not yesterday. You may have had some negative experiences in the past that you cannot get out of your mind. You may have been mistreated in the past, perhaps you suffered some type of abuse at some point in your life. If you do not want this event to define your entire life, you have to find a way to get it to stop creeping into your mind. Identify the negative thoughts that you have internalized as a result of past events. You may want to write these down as well so that you can take a better look at them. Some of these thoughts may have to do with dealing with certain types or groups of people. Others may have to do with going to different types of events. You need to take the time to think about whether these negative thoughts and feeling that you brought with you are still valid and true today. Sometimes, if we look at our negative experiences again and really think about it, we have moved on in our lives and should be ready and willing to let the past go and start fresh in the present without all of the negatives of the past weighing us down. If you find that the past is continuously on your mind, you may want to hold a ceremony to release yourself from the past and move into the present. This is true whether the memories in the past that are holding you back are good or bad. If you lost a relative or friend in the past, hold a celebration of life ceremony to remember the person and make a pledge to yourself to not dwell on that event of those memories again. If you were a college football player or cheerleader, have some of your teammates over for a party to reminisce, after the party is over but the memorabilia away, and make a vow to move on. Meditate and reflect on your day at the end of each day. Each day brings new experiences with it that you can learn from and grow. In addition, there are many repeated experiences that a person has each day that he or she can improve upon. At the end of the day each day, it would be a good idea to take the time to reflect on the day that just passed and think about everything that happened, how you felt, how it affected you, why you believe that certain things occurred, and whether there is anything that you would have done differently. Try taking about 10 minutes at the end of each day to sit quietly in the back of a room, maybe play some meditation music, and strike your favorite yoga pose if you would like, and reflect on the day that just occurred so that you can make an assessment of how it went and if there are things that you would do differently or change about your day to make similar days better in the future. Practice staying calm in high-pressure situations. Practice has a way of improving the way in which we handle things. That is what it is designed to do, and when it comes to emotional toughness in high-pressure situations, practice may be the best thing that you can do to develop your mental toughness and better handle high-pressure situations. The main key to succeeding in high-pressure situations is to stay calm and not overreact or become intimidated, but that is often much easier said than done. For example, if you are a musical performer, you can practice your music for hours and hours until you have it perfect when preparing for your first live performance in front of a large crowd. You know that you need to relax and perform the way that you rehearsed, and you are fully prepared. However, this does not guarantee that you are going to execute the performance well when you get in front of that large crowd for the first time. You may execute the performance very poorly once stage fright takes over. In order for the performer to perform at his or her best when he or she has never done a large live performance before, the performer should practice giving performances in front of smaller crowds and work his or her way up to a larger crowd. This strategy works well for acclimating oneself to other high-pressure situations as well. Start with lower-pressure situations such as the smaller performances and gradually move towards higher and higher-pressure situations as you become more comfortable and acclimated to the pressure situation. This is similar to what organizations such as the military and NASA do with simulators. They simulate actual flight scenarios to train their pilots on how to handle real-world flights. Chapter 7. Build routines and habits for ultimate self-discipline. If you wish to be self-disciplined, you are not alone. People everywhere want to develop this skill, but they never manage to master the habits that they need that will facilitate the process. When you are able to recognize that at the end of the day, the most important thing that you will need to do to support your shift into self-discipline is to make sure that you develop the habits, you will be able to find that shifting to these habits actually comes relatively simply. Here, we will look at several habits that you can use to help yourself learn how best to become the self-disciplined individual that you wish to be. Remember, your thoughts and behaviors are inherently linked. If you create these behaviors, you can facilitate developing the inherent mindset that you need in order to become the self-disciplined individual that you want to be. It is only when the lifestyle and mindset come together that you are able to truly become the self-disciplined individual that you want to be. Find your passion and stick to it. One of the best ways that you can help yourself develop solid self-discipline habits is to make sure that you are always finding work that you love. When you find something that you genuinely love to do and work with it, your discipline will come inherently. You may love to write, for example, so you find that you work best in a job that requires you to write often. This means that the writing itself does not become tedious or something that you wish you could avoid altogether. When you are passionate about what you are doing, however, it never becomes a chore for you. When you are passionate, you are able to draw from that passion to keep you moving forward, and it will be much easier to be self-disciplined when you find genuine enjoyment in what you are doing. Gratitude. Your gratitude helps you keep a positive mind, but it also keeps you satisfied with what you have, which can help keep you from being sidetracked as you go about your life. When you are able to recognize that what you have is enough for you at any given point in time, you are going to find that you are better able to resist all of those instant gratification temptations that you see. For example, imagine that you have a phone. Your phone works well enough, but it is older. You do not have many of the more modern features. Maybe it does not work well with wireless charging, for example, or maybe it struggles to function well when you are trying to use it in a certain manner. It could struggle to load up the apps that you want or the games that you like to play. Overall, it does its main job, however, it allows you to talk to people. It just requires you to inconvenience yourself occasionally. Maybe you also are saving up money because you want to be able to pay off the rest of your student debt. You are really eager to be done with that payment, so you have been making it a point to pay as much as you can into your student loans. You could buy a new phone if you wanted to, but the phone that you have been eyeing is an extra $1,200, which would be several months of that student loan payment. You are really tempted to get the phone. When you can practice the habit of gratitude, however, you can be thankful for what you have. You can be thankful for the fact that you have a phone that works. You can be thankful that your screen is not damaged. You can be thankful that you are in a position where you are able to be paying off your student loans, so you are not crippled by your debt. All of this gratitude, being thankful for what you have, keeps you satisfied. You are able to resist that inherent tendency to upgrade your phone because you are thankful for the one that you already have, and that is enough for you at that point in time. You can accept what you have is enough. Meditation. Another great habit to help with self-discipline is meditation. When you meditate on the regular, you are going to be ensuring that you are able to focus. Meditation itself requires self-discipline to perform, meaning not only will it help you remain disciplined, but it will also be an exercise in it as well. When you meditate, you are able to clear out your mind. You are able to focus on what you need to do. You can make sure that any decisions that you do make are well thought out. You ensure that you are not acting on emotion or other impulses that are likely to cause you problems in the future. When you use meditation, you make sure that you are able to focus more on what you should do and help yourself avoid the distractions and temptations around you. You do not need to spend all your time meditating, but even picking up on meditation a few times a week, or every morning for 5 minutes can help you immensely. When you use this meditation, you can make sure that you keep your eyes on the prize. If your prize is paying off those student loans, for example, you can make sure that you resist purchasing the phone. You may start out feeling like you really want to make the phone happen, but then you realize something: if you make the phone happen, you are only acting on impulse. You will still have several more months of loan payments, and that money could go elsewhere. When you meditate, you can stop and clear away all of the emotions surrounding the issue. You can make sure that when you do decide to deliberate on whether or not to buy the phone, you do so with a mind free from the excitement that would normally push you toward buying. Persistence. When you are self-disciplined, you must develop a habit of persistence. This will ensure that you never give up, even when you are faced with a difficult choice or a situation in which you are more likely to fail than not. If you are persistent, you will try anyway. You will do your best to continue forward. This will be the ability to pick yourself up after you fall. You will fall sometimes, everyone does. The strongest people, the ones with self-discipline, are able to pick themselves back up and keep fighting. However, they can keep moving forward with ease because they are not inherently upset over making that mistake in the first place. When you develop persistence as a habit, you will have to simply force the point. You will have to make yourself push forward, building that mental fortitude that you will need. However, that fortitude that you will be developing will help you greatly in life. You will be able to use it constantly, allowing yourself to keep yourself motivated and moving forward toward what matters. When you develop this skill, you tell yourself that you are willing to get up and keep moving when you fail. You try again when something goes wrong. You move forward, even when you feel like giving up would be easier. Organized. When you are organized, you are able to keep everything that you will need to juggle straight and organized. You will be able to make sure that everything is in its place, and you will be able to maintain the schedule that you will need to ensure that you stay on track. You may find that you do this by creating a big schedule and routine. You may do this by making sure that everything has a place and a method to being done. At the end of the day, however, you make sure that everything is right where it belongs, and you save yourself the hassle of trying to figure out where everything is when you need to look for something. Developing good goal-setting skills. When you want to be self-disciplined, one of the best habits that you can develop is the habit of mastering goal setting. When you set good goals, you ensure that you are able to achieve just about anything in your life. Good goals are smart. They are specific, measured, achievable, relevant, timed. This makes them something that you can manage to use with ease. When you use SMART goals, you set yourself up for success nearly every time. These goals will help you ensure that they are achievable just by the way that you structure them. Specific. When you make your goal specific, you are narrowing down exactly what you wish to achieve, so you have a clear picture of what success is going to be. Instead of saying that you want to save money, you say that you want to have $10,000 saved by next year. Notice how with one goal, you could literally save up $10 and succeed technically but not actually achieve the desired result. When you specify exactly what you want, you know exactly what you are working for. Measured. Making sure that your goal is measured means that you can assure yourself that you have a way to judge your own progress. This is easy with goals that can be measured in numbers, such as money saved, or weight lost. However, sometimes, you have to get more creative. If you want to stop your anger issues, for example, you may say that you are going to cut your outbursts by 50% and then track how often you have them. This will enable you to actively measure what your progress looks like and where you are in your progress. Achievable. When you make sure that your goal is achievable, you are looking at whether it is something that you can do in the first place. This is where you look to see if there are any obvious obstacles that will keep you from succeeding, such as potentially having some sort of disability, or otherwise trying to achieve a goal that is not possible for you. This is where you determine if your goal is realistic for you. If it is achievable, you list out how it can be achieved in the first place. Relevant. When you study the relevance of your goal, you identify whether it is something that you actually care about. This is different than whether it is achievable. Think of it this way, you may say that you want to run a 10-minute mile. You say that yes, this is achievable for yourself. However, you must then look at whether the goal is actually relevant to you. You may then realize that, actually, you can run an 8-minute mile. In this instance, that goal becomes pointless. Why would you use this goal if you already have achieved it? You will be looking to see if this is something that you can already do or see if it is something that you have an interest or reason to do in the first place. Timed. Finally, you make your goal timed in some way. When you have a timed goal, you have a clear deadline that will mark you as having failed. You have an ending point for your goal when you do this, which means that you cannot get trapped in saying that you will do it tomorrow until you eventually never actually do what you were supposed to in the first place and fail. Mastering time management. Finally, one last habit of considering when you want to have a life of self-discipline is the ability to manage your time. Time management becomes an important skill. If you cannot manage your time, then you cannot make sure that you are actually attending to anything that you should be doing in the first place. If you do not manage your time well, you will never actually ensure that you got through everything on your to-do list, which can make achieving that self-discipline an impossibility. This can be achieved in all sorts of ways. You could try by setting yourself a routine that you always follow without deviation. This can help you stay on the right track to ensure that you are actually able to get to everything. You could try creating lists of everything that you need to do and rank them by importance. At the end of the day, what matters most is being able to ensure that you manage your time well in a way that works best for you. How that manifests in your life will be dependent upon yourself and your own preferences. Chapter 8. Being self-disciplined. When we say that guy, for instance, is self-driven and disciplined, what does it mean? This statement is enough proof that mental strength and self-control link up and make individuals successful. Self-discipline can also be referred to as willpower. It is the ability to resist desires that are quite hard to say no to, but you get the ability to forego them. Is yours, and for it to build or destroy, then it has to be well equipped and trained in that aspect. Whatever you feed your mind with is what it will radiate in exchange. By training your mind to be strong, it achieves brain muscle, and it becomes strong and capable of fighting whatever situation comes to its way. The power of the mind is valued so much. Even during job interviews, the questions thrown at you help describe the person you are. How you think, act, and answer the questions tells a lot about you. Like bodybuilders go to the gym and lift weights to strengthen their muscles, so should you. Nonetheless, the brain's gym in this world is the day-to-day situations. They are the weights. To build brain power, you need first to be someone who is positive and a believer. Live positively, and even if the world throws you negative things from them, find at least one positive, and it will stand out. If personal development is your goal, then mental strength is a great tool. To obtain the mental strength, here is where self-discipline kicks in. You have to focus on healthy mental habits. 2. Concentrate on the habits. You will require self-control, which will be a reminder that you are doing this to achieve that. With self-discipline, all in place, and the mental muscles will experience constant exercises. Mental strength is not something that will be obtained overnight. You have to work hard for it and avoid habits that will affect the process. Practice virtues, focus on yourself and believe in yourself, in that nobody can put you down. The advantage of this combination of self-discipline and mental strength is that your self-worth will elevate, and you will feel good about yourself eventually. Saying no to temptations and other habits. Temptations are part and parcel of the life we live. It takes a strong mind and self-discipline to keep away some temptations. Temptations, however, come in different magnitudes and areas. Some temptations are easy to forego, but others seem like huge barriers ahead of us. It is a mindset, though, What you perceive as impossible to avoid to you is a piece of cake to another person, and the vice versa is also true to some extent. To expound better and understand this, let me use examples. Early in the morning, some of us have a tendency to feel bad if woken up early. If the alarm is responsible, we have the great will to snooze it and continue sleeping. If it is someone else, then we feel the nagging effect, and we may even get angry and emotional at them. To overcome this, get the courage to wake up, leave the warm, comfortable bed, and face the happenings and schedules of the day. It requires a strong will and discipline. Practicing daily waking up and moving on will build the muscles of the mind and gain discipline. It is something that will take a while, but repeatedly doing the same will make you more focused on what lays ahead of you than what is in the bed. Let us take another example of someone who is already married, has a job, and is successful. The only thing this person lacks is the ability and courage to say no to alcohol. His wife at home is constantly complaining, and some evening, they even get into arguments. This guy, however, is one of the good guys, but his friends are not that disciplined. After work, this guy, let's name him Peter, will pass by a joint that is strategically situated on the route that he uses while going home, and it is a few meters from his working place. They will leave work in the evening, and his friends will ask him out for drinks. He doesn't want that because firstly he has a family and secondly, he is not willing to get drunk. Due to a lack of self-drive, he will accept the offer and promise to take only 2 beers. Peter ends up getting drunk by taking more than the 2 beers. He will go home, and the argument starts, and many issues will follow. If this cycle continues even if not on a daily basis, then it is a bad habit. Advice to him would be that he focus on the keeping of bad friends and alcohol. This, however, cannot be achieved overnight. To become self-disciplined as well as gain the power of the mind, it will require him to practice wisdom and virtues so that he can turn down the offers of his friends without breaking the relationship and also without hurting their feelings or being afraid of hurting them. That's just a step towards a better direction, and he also has to make sure he has made a firm decision on avoiding alcohol since the club is just along the way to his home. He can find another route or face the situation and focus ahead. Indicators of mental strength and self-discipline are lack of excuses and courage to say no to temptations that add no value to you. Mental toughness, once acquired, will make you stop making excuses and will help you also focus ahead and avoid any attempt against achieving your set goals. Mental toughness, therefore, goes hand in hand with the ability to control one's desires. Practicing emotional intelligence and saying no to temptations and excuses repeatedly will increase and broaden your willpower. You become stronger against these temptations, and you will face them head-on. Self-awareness. The focus is on you. It has been proven that individuals that are able to attain mental toughness are well-behaved and very successful. Your body health state also contributes to the progress of attaining mental toughness. You need a healthy body to facilitate the process of self-discipline and mental toughness. Feeding right and healthy foods will keep the body in good shape. A well-informed person will not forgo the need for a good healthy body stature. Nutrition will help provide the energy required by the body and brain in taking up the challenges and facilitate the process of change. The brain releases free radicals while working. The number of free radicals released is directly proportional to the activity of the brain. The food we take in, on the other hand, has elements that will bind to these radicals and eliminate them. The complex made by element and radical will exit the mind, and it will feel fresh again, hence the need for good feeding habits. By taking care of the body also involves avoiding and stopping the use of substances that will cause harm to our bodies. These substances include drugs and alcohol. A sober mind is quite a special and great tool in life. Alcohol is a stimulant, and sedative hence will influence the ability of the mind. It can also impair your perception and judgment at the moment. Other drugs are either stronger than alcohol, and hence their effect on the brain is higher, and therefore, the mental toughness is reduced or even doesn't exist in such individuals. If you are committed to making it in life and living a life that has no pressures, it is best you invest in yourself. Those that are aware of their capacities will take good care of their bodies and will make sure the body is in a sane condition. While in a sober mind, it is easier to do exercises of the brain, read more, exercise better decision-making, and be aware of yourself. A mind is a magical tool, and it will do magic if treated with the right treatment and conditions. Self-awareness and self-knowledge will be so helpful. Once you know who you are and what it is that you need in this world will help you gain the mental toughness to attain the goals set. Self-discipline will come in automatically to make sure the mental strength is well in place and installed. Goals commitment. A strong will to achieve the set goals and self-discipline will anchor you to your path, and no wavering will be observed. Without mental toughness, you will set your goals and outline your plans, but you will be swayed away by other distractions. Commitment to the goals will need more than mental toughness, and here self-discipline kicks in. If your power of will and interests are in place, not forgetting the passion, all you now need is to lock mental toughness and work on your self-control. Commitments are important, and if they mean a lot to you, then you will sacrifice all that needs to be sacrificed. You will also make sure all team players towards your achievements are in unison as well as being in place. These team players are mental strength and self-discipline. Focus is important. Mental toughness will require you to focus on the commitments put in order to attain the bigger picture, your goals. Mental toughness will make sure no laziness sets in, and you are all alert of the surroundings to ensure no opportunity goes untouched. With the mind alert, you now focus on other desires and distractions. Train yourself to say no so as to maintain the eyes on the prize ahead. Self-control will require you to take control of your emotions and physical desires and weigh them out to select only those that will add value to your goals. Be assertive and also selective. Emotional intelligence calls will also play a great role in maintaining feelings of anxiety or any other emotion that can be a distractor. The medical field is a demanding area that requires full attention. Medical students have to be resilient and focus on the way to completion of their medical degrees or their equivalent. These students have self-discipline, and some have mental toughness. It is true to say that not all that get enrolled in medical school make it to the graduation time. The learning there is so much, a lot of memorization and activities that are monitored. Here, mental toughness and self-discipline will even make life easier. The combination will allow you to focus ahead and maintain cohesion with a colleague without much straining or pressure. A responsible and good doctor is one who has a sense of direction and has a feeling of self-dependency. Self-confidence is a trait that one acquires with more and more practice on mental toughness and self-control. Patients will feel safe in the hands of a doctor that will believe in himself, his skills, and experience rather than one that has to confirm of seeking permission to do a certain procedure. Boldness is key. How to increase your self-discipline, practical advice. Be aware of the weaknesses. Get to know of the weaknesses that you have, be it weaknesses in food, in clothing, in certain events, and get to know them so that you can devise proper ways in which you will deal with them. This is to ensure that they do not hinder you from accomplishing your set and planned goals. Your weaknesses could also be in things such as social media and the internet, and by getting to know them, you'll be in a better position to devise ways in which to avoid the distractions. You are not to give a cold shoulder on the fact that between you and your goals, there might be preferences that you hold dear to that could actually be stumbling blocks and hurdles to your achievement and being self-disciplined. In a nutshell, knowing your weaknesses will help you to be more self-disciplined. Doing away with tempting factors. Once you identify the weak points that may hold you down from being self-disciplined, do away with them. It may not be easy to discard off things that you treasure dearly, but you must strive to do so, for they will just be holding you down from being fully set on self-discipline. Psyche up yourself to put behind the distractions, willing yourself to do so, and tapping into your inner owner when the temptation to hold on to them becomes too much. Have well-set goals with a planner on how to implement them. Of importance to increase your self-discipline is to write down the plans and the goals that you have and have planner here you do so. Having goals and ambitions is a great motivator to become disciplined to reach the goals that you have set. Plan them, accordingly, making sure that you are comfortable with the time frame that you give yourself to achieve them. Planning them will be a more permanent way of a start on actualizing your goals, where self-discipline will be required. Last, but not least, do not fear them. Develop your self-discipline step by step. The skill of being self-disciplined is not one with which people are born with. It is one skill that will require your constant devotion in its build-up to increase its levels. Self-discipline is actually a behavior that you learn along the way in life, so, therefore, make a point to learn and incorporate self-discipline in your life. Self-discipline is well built up in situations where your willpower and resilience are tested. Where the temptation to slump back is greater, that's where self-discipline is required in a great measure, and it would do you good to overcome the temptation, thus increasing your self-discipline. Have new habits and practice on them. Greater levels of self-discipline would require you to form new habits and stick to doing them. Such habits of attaining higher standards are an uphill task to form at first, but with proper practice on them, they become a part of you that you do naturally. You become more at ease with them, and there is no strain on your part when doing them. Practice on them daily to be a part of your daily habits. You may want to go slow on yourself when practicing and not too hard, for they are new habits you are trying to instill in yourself. Go healthy on foods and diet. Self-discipline requires a higher level of mental state, a clear and stable mind. Greater psychological power is required to be more self-disciplined. One of the factors that may increase your mental capacity is going healthy on your diet. The food you eat plays a huge and crucial role in strengthening or deteriorating your mental capacity. Healthy foods such as complex carbohydrates are great in maintaining your mind in great shape. Sugary foods, on the other hand, reduce your mental prowess, and should thus be avoided. With greater mental capabilities come a greater ability of self-discipline. Keep healthy and fit to be more self-disciplined. Have a turnabout of your perception on resilience and willpower. Your thoughts on resilience and willpower are determinants to a great deal of how self-disciplined you will be. More willpower in situations will increase the self-discipline you have. Think about being more resilient in situations that require perseverance, and you will be more self-disciplined from the thoughts you feed your mind. Make yourself believe in them too. Create a backup plan for situations. Draw up a plan that you will employ in situations that require your self-discipline. If you know that you are doomed to delve into scenarios where your willpower will be tested, draw a plan in your mind to help you get through it. This is a technique to be prepared for the challenges testing your self-discipline. When you overcome such a situation, you will have boosted your self-discipline, which increases with every temptation that you face and overcome. Acknowledge and appreciate yourself. When you have attained what you had planned for successfully, give yourself credit for the work well done. Having achieved a task, with no distractions whatsoever and not giving in to temptations, appreciate your efforts. This will keep you motivated and in good spirits, looking forward to the next task that you are to achieve. Anticipating for the next thing to do and the next objective to meet is a powerful tool in ensuring that you are on toes ready to focus. Praising yourself for the tasks accomplished with self-discipline motivates you to be more self-disciplined over future tasks. Learn to forgive yourself over mistakes done and move on when you have made a mistake, say where self-discipline was needed, but you did not employ it as required. Learn to forgive yourself and let go of the self-loathing and bitter emotions. Fringing yourself gives you a chance to let go of past mistakes and taking them as lessons that you learn. From the lessons, you will learn how and when to apply self-discipline, thus increasing the self-discipline in you. Chapter 9. Gratification and how to delay it. Gratification can be a good element of your life when there is sufficient balance. However, it is natural human instinct to give into any gratification so that you can experience the associated pleasure. When you want to enhance your self-discipline, it is important that you work to improve your ability to delay your gratification to a time when it will not inhibit your ability to attend to responsibilities and be productive. What is gratification? Gratification is a source of pleasure, and our brains perceive gratification from a variety of activities and sensations. For example, someone might smoke a cigarette for the calming effect, or buy an expensive pair of shoes for the thrill of novelty or luxurious feeling that it provides. There is nothing wrong with gratification in general, but when the pleasure you get is outweighed by negative associations, it can become problematic. For example, with smoking, that sense of calm is fine, but the long-term damage that the act of smoking can do to your body will outweigh the benefits of the calm that you get. Knowing when to delay gratification is a skill that you are not born with. However, you can learn it, so that you can stop allowing gratification to get in the way of getting things done. How gratification contributes to success. As you become better at delaying gratification, you will find that it is much easier to achieve success. In fact, research has shown that knowing when to delay gratification is one of the most prominent elements of success. The marshmallow experiment is a common resource that people use when discussing the positive effects of delayed gratification. This study analyzed 500 children aged 4 to 5. The researcher conducting the study told the kids that they could choose between having a single marshmallow right away, or if they waited for the researcher to leave and return, they would be able to have 2 marshmallows. The 500 children who were part of this study were then monitored for 40 years. The research found that the kids who chose to wait and get 2 marshmallows, those who delayed gratification, fared considerably better in basic success metrics compared to the kids who did not wait but took the single marshmallow right away, those who could not resist instant gratification. A wealth of similar research has been performed over the last 5 decades. For the most part, the conclusions are in line with those of the marshmallow study. There are numerous benefits of practicing delayed gratification that were noted in the conclusions of the research. These benefits include: it teaches the advantage of hard work. It helps people develop meaningful motivation. It helps people learn and develop sufficient impulse control. It aids people in living healthier lives. It helps people save money and create a solid plan for personal finances. It allows people to be more appreciative of the good in their lives and in the world. It makes it easier for people to develop healthy habits. It allows people to put their focus on other elements of gratification. It makes it easier to live a life that is free from guilt. It allows people to enjoy life more, from the smallest acts of kindness to the biggest experiences that they have. How to improve your ability to delay gratification. Now that you know what delayed gratification is and its possible positive impact on your life, the next step to learn how to improve your ability to delay gratification. This is something that takes some practice, so do not get down on yourself if it takes some time. In fact, acquiring this skill through a slow and natural progression is a good thing. Clearly envision your future. It is important to see yourself in the future and be able to imagine what you are doing. You want to think beyond the next year and think at least a decade in the future for this. To aid in this, write down your goals in 5-year increments. Distract yourself. If you feel tempted to give into gratification, you may want to distract yourself so that you do not give into it. For example, if you feel yourself about to smoke a cigarette, go for a walk instead. Your distraction should be something that gives you some enjoyment so that you do not mind doing them. Do not exhaust your willpower. Testing your willpower is a good thing, but do not test it to the point of exhaustion. For example, if you have a goal to lose weight, you don't want to get on a diet that is too strict. If you do, it would be easier to fail at the diet, and then binge eat to satisfy your urge for gratification. Make spending appear boring. This might sound overly simplified, but it is not. You simply want to focus on the boring nature of bills and similar things so that spending becomes a cumbersome experience. As it becomes less exciting, you will be less likely to do it without a good reason. Track everything. When you track the specifics, such as what you eat and your expenses, it becomes harder to justify your bad decisions. You should start with one thing to track at a time, or else this can get overwhelming and easy to give up on. Do not think all or nothing. You have to think in shades of gray to be successful. When you think all or nothing, as soon as you make a mistake, you will stop trying and will ultimately fail. You instead have to think of any one failure as a minor detour so that you can quickly get back on track. Utilize visual reminders. This is always a good exercise and is one that can make it harder to give into temptation. Put up visual reminders of the positive things that you want. When you feel the need for gratification coming on, look at these to help yourself to stay focused on the good things that will come if you choose to delay gratification. Remember the discomfort. The last time you gave into gratification, what negative things happened? Recalling them might be of help. Write them down and make sure that you associate them with the negative consequences. Then, when you find yourself about to give into temptation again, it will be easier to avoid. List your common rationalizations. Everyone rationalizes their behaviors, even when they are bad. Write these down and learn to recognize, and ignore, them. Enjoy the benefits of your self-control. Make note of the good things that are happening and use this to keep yourself on track for delaying gratification. Carry a list with you if need be so that you always have a reminder. Chapter 10. Dealing with negative emotion. Mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness is a type of meditation that is used as a mental training practice that requires you to focus your mind on your thoughts and sensations in the present moment. Your thoughts include your physical sensations, passing thoughts, and current emotions. Mindfulness meditation often utilizes mental imagery, breathing practice, muscle and body relaxation and awareness of your mind and body. For beginners, it is recommended to follow a guided meditation to direct them through the entire process. If there is nobody guiding you through this meditation, it is easy to drift away and fall asleep. That is not the purpose of meditation. When you become more skilled in doing mindfulness meditation, you will be able to do it without a guide or any vocal guidance. The most original and standardized program for mindfulness meditation is called the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction (MSBR) program. This meditation was developed by a PhD student who was a student of a famous Buddhist monk. This program focuses on helping the individual bring their awareness to the present and to focus on their own awareness. This meditation has increased in popularity and is not incorporated into medical settings to treat health conditions such as anxiety, negativity, insomnia, pain, and stress. Although this meditation is quite straightforward, professionals would recommend you find a teacher or a program that can act as a guide when you begin. Most people are recommended to do this meditation for at least 10 minutes per day. If you don't have a lot of free time, that's okay. Even just a few minutes a day plays a huge role in changing your well-being. Follow these instructions below to get started. Find a place that is quiet and you feel comfortable in. Ideally, this is your home or a place where you feel safe. Sit in something comfortable like a chair and make sure your head and back are straight and aligned. Try to release any tension you feel. Begin to sort your thoughts and put away the ones that are of the past or future. Focus on your thoughts that are about the present. Begin to bring your awareness to your breath. Focus on the sensation of air moving through your body when you inhale and exhale. Focus on this feeling. Begin to feel the movement of your belly as it rises and falls. Feel how the air enters through your nostrils and leaves through your mouth. Pay attention to how each breath is different. Watch your thoughts come and go in front of you. Pretend you are watching the clouds, letting them slowly pass before you. It doesn't matter if your thought is a worry, anxiety, hope, or fear. When these thoughts pass by, don't ignore them or suppress them. Simply just acknowledge them calmly and anchor yourself by focusing on your breathing. If you find yourself being carried away by your thoughts, observe where your mind drifted off to, and without judging yourself, simply anchor yourself by focusing on your breathing. This happens a lot with beginners, so don't be hard on yourself if you drift away. Always use your breathing as an anchor. When you are nearing the end of your 10-minute session, sit still for 2 minutes and bring awareness to your physical location. Get up slowly. Mindfulness meditation is the simplest technique in the meditation field. However, there are other ways of practicing mindfulness that isn't only in the form of meditation. There are a few opportunities in your day where you can use to practice mindfulness. Here are a few suggestions of when you may have the time to practice mindfulness. Doing the dishes. This is a wonderful window of time where you can use to practice mindfulness. Typically, when you are doing the dishes, there isn't anyone trying to get your attention. This is a perfect time to try mindfulness. Try to focus on the feeling of warm water on your hands, the look and feeling of bubbles, the smell of your dish soap, and the sounds of your plates clunking in the water. Try to give yourself to this experience and feel your mind refreshing and your anxiety fading. Brushing your teeth. Since you have to brush your teeth every day, you can use this time frame to practice mindfulness. Start by feeling your weight on your feet against the floor, the feeling of your toothbrush in hand, and the movement as you begin to brush your teeth. Focus on these feelings and the thoughts you are having in the present. Don't dwell, just acknowledge those thoughts as they come and go. Driving. This is one of those activities where it's easy for people to do mindlessly. This is especially relevant if you are driving the same route every day. Make use of this time by not letting your mind wander off to think about tasks that you need to do that day. Practice mindfulness by trying to keep yourself anchored. Take in sensations and visuals like the color of the car in front of you, the smell of your own car, and the feeling of the steering wheel. Focus your attention on all the sounds and noises you hear. If you find yourself wandering, bring your attention back to where you are in your car. Exercising. Make your workout routine a time to also exercise mindfulness. Try to exercise away from screens or music and focus only on your breathing and where your feet are moving. Although watching TV or listening to music will make your workout go by faster or distract you from any anxiety, it won't actually help in managing any unhealthy thoughts. Bring your attention to feeling how your muscles feel and pay attention to how your body is reacting to your workout. Instead of ignoring the pains you may be feeling, acknowledge it, and let yourself feel the exercise. Bedtime. This is normally the time where you begin to get things ready for the next day. Instead of battling too much with it, just keep in mind what needs to be done. Stop trying to rush through it to get to bed, but try to enjoy the experience of completing those actual tasks. Focus on what needs to be done and don't think about what is next. Start early to leave yourself with enough time so you don't need to rush through things. Any thoughts or anxieties that come up should be acknowledged and let go. Improving your self-esteem. One of the most effective ways of improving your self-esteem is to use self-acceptance. By improving self-esteem, you can reduce the amount of negative thoughts in your mind. Let's take a look at this concept and use it in practice to help your self-esteem. Self-acceptance can be defined in 3 different ways. 1. Self-acceptance is the feeling of being satisfied with yourself despite your past choices or behaviors. 2. Self-acceptance is being aware of your strengths and weaknesses. 3. Self-acceptance is having a realistic assessment of your capabilities, talents, and overall worth. In summary of those 3 definitions, self-acceptance is the happiness and satisfaction that you have with yourself that is needed to achieve good mental health. Having self-acceptance means that you are able to understand who you are, be realistic about it, and be aware of what strengths and weaknesses you have. Those who have high levels of self-acceptance tend to also have a more positive attitude, do not wish to be different from who they are, accept all traits of themselves, and are not confused with their identity. Self-esteem is defined as having confidence in your own ability. And self-worth and self-acceptance are being aware and satisfied with all your strengths and weaknesses. Self-acceptance does not need to rely on achievement to make one feel worthy. It makes people feel worthy by simply being comfortable and happy with who they are. So how does self-acceptance work in the real world? Based on scientific studies, self-acceptance has 5 different stages. The first stage is aversion. People's natural response to uncomfortable feelings or situation is either avoidance or resistance. For instance, if somebody dislikes a trait that they have, it is natural that they avoid it rather than dealing with it head-on. The second stage is curiosity. When aversion no longer works, people will become curious to learn more about their problems. This curiosity is the driving factor behind people looking to learn more about their problems. The more curious a person is, the more likely they are to have a fulfilling life. People who lack this curiosity tend to shy away from problems, leading to get stuck in stage 1, which is aversion. The third stage is tolerance. Those in this stage will wish that their problems will go away while enduring it the entire time. Many people in this stage still suffer the effects of their problems but are forcing themselves to tolerate it so they can go on with their everyday life. The fourth stage is allowing. As people's resistance slowly drains away, they then allow themselves to feel. Rather than just recognizing and tolerating, they acknowledge them and feel the emotions that occur. This is the stage of acceptance where they accept their problem and allows themselves to feel all the emotions that come with it. The fifth and last stage is friendship. During this, people begin to see the value that their feelings bring and decide to accept them rather than willing them to leave. They become comfortable enough to be friends with those feelings regardless if it's good or bad. Self-acceptance is different for everybody. It heavily depends on the struggles that a person has gone through and what parts of their lives that they'd rather not look at. Right below are a few examples of what other people's self-acceptance looks like. A person that is in the process of divorce feels like they have failed in life. However, This person experiences self-acceptance by realizing that they have made mistakes in their life, and their marriage has failed, but it does not make them a complete failure. A person suffering from bulimia may accept themselves as a person with an imperfect body or perception but is committed to changing their perspective. A student who studies really hard in college only to get mediocre marks can reach the point of self-acceptance where they realize that test-taking and studying may not be their strength, but this is okay because they have other strengths that they can build on. A person with low self-esteem who avoids acknowledging their self-deprecating beliefs may experience self-acceptance by first acknowledging them and realizing that not every single thought that they have is necessarily true. A worker who is having trouble meeting the goals set by their unreasonable boss might accept themselves by accepting the fact that there will be times where they won't be able to deliver on unreasonable timelines. However, they are still a good person, even if they couldn't deliver on time. Hopefully, you were able to see the pattern in these examples. Self-acceptance is the act of realizing that although you may not be perfect in all aspects of your life, it doesn't mean that you are completely invaluable. By having self-acceptance, you are giving yourself permission to be bad at certain things but also giving recognition to the things you are good at. For a person to have healthy self-esteem, they must learn to be self-accepting and to let go of any negative judgments they have for themselves. Cognitive behavioral therapy. One of the fundamental parts of CBT is to help a person determine whether or not those negative thoughts are true and to identify their own unhelpful thinking styles in order to begin changing them. Let's take a look at what CBT is and how we can use it to challenge a person's unhelpful thinking styles. Cognitive behavioral therapy is used to treat mental disorders, primarily anxiety and depression. Due to its long history in development, CBT is a practical and time-saving form of psychotherapy. CBT focuses on your here-and-now problems that come up in daily life. It is used to help people make sense of their surroundings and events that happen around them. CBT is very structured, time-saving, and problem-focused. These advantages are the reason why CBT is one of the most popular techniques when used to deal with mental disorders in our fast-paced modern lives. In the present day, CBT works by helping clients recognize, question, and change the thoughts that relate to the emotional and behavioral reactions that cause them difficulty. By using CBT to monitor and record thoughts during undesirable situations, people begin to learn that the way they think is a contributor to their emotional problems. Modern-day cognitive behavioral therapy helps reduce emotional problems by teaching individuals to identify any distortions in their thinking process. See their own thoughts as ideas rather than facts. Take a step back from their own thoughts to look at situations from another perspective. The new CBT model used in the present day is built on the relationship between thoughts and behaviors. Both can influence each other. There are 3 levels and types of thoughts. Conscious thoughts. These are rational thoughts that are made with complete awareness. Automatic thoughts. These are the thoughts that move very quickly. You are likely to not be fully aware of their movement. This means that it's difficult to check them for accuracy. A person suffering from mental health problems may have thoughts that are entirely not logical. Schemas. These are the core beliefs and personal values when it comes to processing information. Our schemas are shaped by our childhood and other life experiences. Challenging your unhelpful thinking styles. Once you are able to identify your own unhelpful thinking styles, you can begin trying to reshape those thoughts into something more realistic and factual. We have categorized all the different unhelpful thinking styles and what questions you should be asking yourself to develop different and more positive thoughts. Keep in mind that it takes a lot of effort and dedication to change our own thoughts, so don't get frustrated if you are not succeeding right away. You probably have had these thoughts for a while, so don't expect it to change overnight. Probability overestimation. If you find that you have thoughts about a possible negative outcome, but you are noticing that you often overestimate the probability, try asking yourself the questions below to reevaluate your thoughts. Based on my experience, what is the probability that this thought will come true realistically? What are the other possible results from this situation? Is the outcome that I am thinking of now the only possible one? Does my feared outcome have the highest possibility out of the other outcomes? Have I ever experienced this type of situation before? If so, what happened? What have I learned from these past experiences that would be helpful to me now? If a friend or loved one is having these thoughts, what would I say to them? Catastrophizing. If the prediction that I am afraid of really did come true, how bad would it really be? If I am feeling embarrassed, how long will this last? How long will other people remember/talk about it? What are all the different things they could be saying? Is it 100% that they will talk about only bad things? I am feeling uncomfortable right now, but is this really a horrible or unbearable outcome? What are the other alternatives for how this situation could turn out? If a friend or loved one was having these thoughts, what would I say to them? Mind reading. Is it possible that I really know what other people's thoughts are? What are the other things they could be thinking about? Do I have any evidence to support my own assumptions? In the scenario that my assumption is true, what is so bad about it? Personalization. What other elements might be playing a role in the situation? Could it be the other person's stress, deadlines, or mood? Does somebody always have to be at blame? A conversation is never just one person's responsibility. Were any of these circumstances out of my control? Should statements. Would I be holding the same standards to a loved one or a friend? Are there any exceptions? Will someone else do this differently? All or nothing thinking. Is there a middle ground or gray area that I am not considering? Would I judge a friend or loved one in the same way? Was the entire situation 100% negative? Was there any part of the situation that I handled well? Is having/showing some anxiety such a horrible thing? Selective attention/memory. What are the positive elements of the situation? Am I ignoring those? Would a different person see this situation differently? What strengths do I have? Am I ignoring those? Negative core beliefs. Do I have any evidence that supports my negative beliefs? Is this thought true in every situation? Would a loved one or friend agree with my self-belief? Chapter 11. Staying self-disciplined. Beginning the journey of self-discipline can be somewhat simple, but staying committed to the path after you started can be challenging. Most people find that they have a high amount of energy, commitment, and motivation to get started with something new early on, but as time goes on, they find themselves struggling to remain motivated and committed. This happens because, over time, your brain wants to go back to engaging in your habitual activities rather than the new activities that you are trying to introduce to it. Those habitual activities are automatic, feel easy, and resemble comfort and familiarity, which are all things that your brain loves to experience. When you find yourself being tugged back toward your habits, this is when you really need to lean into your self-discipline. This is when you need to focus even more on moving forward with your new discipline so that you can move beyond your habits and create new, healthier habits that support you in creating the lifestyle that you actually want to be living. The more you practice these new self-disciplined habits, the easier it will be, and the more you will find yourself adapting to your chosen way of life rather than your automatic way of life. The inevitable reality of failure. We touched on recognizing failure as a part of the process, but I want to dig deeper into what failure is and how it can lead to resistance in your life. When you are afraid of failure, or when you have dealt with the sting of a moment of failure, it can be easy to come up against resistance and find yourself wanting to go back to doing things the old way. Failure can leave you with a number of overwhelming feelings ranging from rejection and embarrassment to disappointment and frustration. When you begin to feel this way, it can leave you feeling as though you need to cling back to what used to make you feel comfortable so that you are no longer being exposed to those painful triggers. The reality is failure is only painful if you allow it to be. Yes, even when you have a healthier perspective on failure, you are likely to feel things like embarrassment, rejection, disappointment, and frustration. However, those who are disciplined have learned to set a time limit on how long they are willing to let themselves sit with those feelings and have resolved to find a way to allow themselves to move beyond those feelings after that. Time passes. As soon as that time frame passes, they will start looking into why the failure happened, what they can learn from it, and how they can apply those lessons to growing and doing better in the future. Recognizing that failure is inevitable may not give you the opportunity to stop it from happening, but it will allow you to mentally and physically prepare for failure when it does take place. Plus, adjusting your mindset around failure early on can allow you to see things differently so that you are not so afraid of failure happening in the future. If you plan ahead and resolve to take control over the situation, failure does not have to remain so painful. Give yourself time to feel. When you are going through moments of resistance or failure, one of the most important things you can do for yourself is let yourself feel the feelings that come along with the situation that you are in. People who are self-disciplined have not reached a point where they suppress their feelings and refrain from ever engaging in any emotional-based experiences. In fact, anyone who does this should acknowledge that this is not a symptom of self-discipline but rather a symptom of a lack of self-discipline that stems from not knowing what to do with one's emotional state. Giving yourself time to feel means that you are letting your body and mind work through the difficult emotions and thoughts that come with a painful situation so that you can let it go and move on in a healthier way. Self-disciplined people know that by feeling their feelings, they can bring closure into their life and, through that, they are able to leave those feelings and that situation behind them. Rather than bringing it with them, suppressing things, and exploding out of nowhere or running into burnout, they move forward with a clear mind and a light heart. When you do give yourself time to feel through things, it is important to do so in a self-disciplined and constructive way. For starters, you should never feel into your emotions to the point that you lose control over yourself and begin to act out on your emotions in an unhealthy manner. Doing so will result in greater feelings of resistance, shame, and disappointment, which can perpetuate the cycle and make it even worse. Find ways to navigate your emotions in a healthy and productive manner so that you can release them without causing so much pain in your life and in your heart. Next, you need to make sure you have a rule around how long you let yourself deal with emotions. With failure, you should always give yourself anywhere from a couple of hours to a day or two to deal with your emotions. Then, you should resolve to move on and get going with your next course of action. This way, you have plenty of time to deal with your feelings, but you do not find yourself trapped in those feelings or dwelling on things that are no longer important. Create a plan within your plan. When you find yourself experiencing resistance or coming up against failure, you are going to need to find a way to get through it. People will often quit when they come up against resistance because they realize the plan they set in place will not work for them, so, rather than trying again, they admit defeat and put down their flag. Rather than waving your white flag in defeat at the first sign of trouble, use this as an opportunity to practice being flexible and adapting to the unexpected. Anytime you find yourself facing significant resistance, failure, or obstacles in your path, make a plan within your plan. Or, in other words, consider what your goal was and decide what you are going to do as your plan B to get ahead to where you want to be. Allowing yourself to move forward with a plan B means that you will continue past any resistance and keep making progress toward your goals. Just because you thought you were going to do things one way, and that way did not work out, does not mean that you cannot continue to move forward in your life. You can continue to make progress by allowing yourself to be adaptable and flexible and to decide that your desire to reach your goals is bigger than any obstacle that could be placed on your path. You are stronger than that, and your ability to adapt and keep going is more powerful than you think. Keep practicing this flexibility and adaptability anytime you need to, and, before you know it, you will have an easy time thinking on your feet and staying the course in the face of trouble, because doing so will come naturally for you. Remember why you started. One of the reasons you may be losing momentum and meeting resistance when you are trying to make a change through increasing your self-discipline is that you are not putting enough effort into recalling why you started this in the first place. Whenever you set a goal of any variety, regardless of how big or small that goal is, you need to do whatever you can to keep the goal in the front of your mind. Remembering why you got started in the first place can help energize you by giving you the same buildup of inspiration and momentum that it gave you when you first started on the journey of making changes. Ideally, you should seek to remind yourself why you got started in the first place as many times as you possibly can, regardless of whether or not you are feeling resistance toward taking action. Keeping vision boards nearby and regularly engaging in visualization surrounding your goals is a great opportunity to keep yourself focused on what it is that you are working toward so that you can continue to increase your momentum. Over time, as you think about how exciting the end result will be and you continue to see yourself progressing toward it, that goal becomes more meaningful to you, and you begin to realize that it actually will become a reality if you stay the course. As a result, you are far more likely to keep working toward achieving that goal. When you find yourself feeling resistance or experiencing doubt or negativity toward your goal, this is when you need to pull out all the stops. A person with self-discipline does not let things like doubt and negativity rise because they know that these feelings will only increase their resistance and prevent them from making progress toward their goals. Rather than allowing that to happen, they focus on surrounding themselves with even more visuals and inspiration reminding them as to why they got started in the first place. They will then expose themselves to the reminder so much that they rebuild the same level of excitement and then some and use that to get moving toward their goals all over again. Resolve to staying on track. If you have tried everything and you are still feeling caught in a state of resistance, sometimes the best thing you can do is resolve to stay on track even if you don't feel like it. If you can see that your efforts are paying off and that you are making progress toward your goals, keep moving forward even when you are not really into it. The more you continue to move forward, the sooner your inspiration and momentum will come back, and you will see that resistance fading away, allowing you to move forward full force all over again. The truth is, the pursuit of your goals will not always be as exciting as those stages where you are full of momentum and inspiration, and it feels like all you want to do is work toward that specific goal. Sometimes, the pursuit of your goals is going to feel relaxed, boring, or even a little mundane as you realize that not every day can be as exciting and upbeat as the ones you look forward to. This does not mean that you will not be excited and upbeat again soon, nor does it mean that you have lost passion for your work. It simply means you are human and you are going through different emotions at that time. If you find yourself feeling a deep lack of passion toward your goal for a long time and no amount of moving forward with it is bringing you into a state of excitement again, then you can start considering whether or not this is the goal for you to pursue. At that point, you may find that you need a subtle shift in the way you pursue it, or you may find that your passion now lies elsewhere and that you need to change your vision. It is okay to change, as long as you continue to exercise discipline, and you do not change your path before you are absolutely certain that this is what you want to do. Get back to the basics. You are going to go through many phases in your life, and some of those phases are going to take you away from who you are and what you know. Some of those phases that take you away could be provoked by stress, while others could be provoked by curiosity. In either scenario, being led away from your path can lead to you feeling overwhelmed and disconnected from your original vision and your true goals. You may find yourself realizing that in the midst of stress, you gave up on something that was important to you, or that as you got excited and curious about something, you went deeper into a path of exploration than you meant to. Trust that no matter what the case is, it is perfectly fine and normal to find yourself removed from your authentic path from time to time. Finding yourself here is not a cause for concern. It is simply space where you can be reminded to come back to what you truly want for yourself in life. As soon as you realize you are away from your chosen path, use self-discipline to bring you back to the basics. Focus on getting your basic daily routine back in order and get close to the practices that help get you on course with your authentic path in the first place. Getting back to the basics will help you reconnect with who you truly are and what you want to achieve and will bring you back to a centered state. From there, you can move forward in pursuit of your next leg of growth so that you can continue on toward your goals. Keep yourself accountable. At various points in your life, you may find yourself settling back into a state of mind where you feel as though someone else should take responsibility for you, or where you feel like you are making enough progress and so there is no need to rush yourself. Slowing down from time to time is okay, especially when you are in need of a break, but getting complacent or completely falling off of your path to success is not a good idea. The only person who can get you back on track following an experience like this is yourself, which is why you absolutely must learn how to hold yourself accountable and keep yourself on track for success. Holding yourself accountable can be done in incremental ways. By having multiple ways that you hold yourself accountable, you ensure that if you make intentional choices along the way that include resting or taking a break, you are not turning that break into an indefinite hiatus. Ideally, you should hold yourself accountable daily, weekly, monthly, every 6 months, and annually. Daily, you should be holding yourself accountable for necessary day-to-day tasks. Weekly, you should be reviewing your commitment to your tasks and helping yourself come up with ideas for how you can stay even more committed going forward. Monthly, you should be reviewing your weeks to see how much progress you have made and to consider adjustments you can make to your daily and weekly processes to improve your progress. Every 6 months you should be reviewing your goals to see how you are doing in terms of milestones and if you need to pivot or make any changes to your approach for where you are heading. Annually, you should be reviewing your past year's goals to see how many you achieved and creating your goals for the coming year so that you have something to hold yourself accountable toward during that coming year. Chapter 12. Tips to build self-discipline. Don't procrastinate. Procrastination gets you nowhere. It hampers productivity and ensures that you don't pursue positive habits. You need to discipline yourself to avoid procrastination. Get your priorities listed and set goals to improve your life. Take the time to note down the various ways you procrastinate. Shun excuses. Excuses seek to limit how far you can go. When you find excuses, you are essentially telling yourself that what you're dealing with is beyond your control. Thus, you will see that as a legitimate reason to not even bother trying. Stand firm. If you are indecisive or if you tend to follow the crowd, you will have a difficult time exercising self-discipline. Self-discipline is about controlling your actions. If you cannot make decisions, someone else will gladly step in to control your life. In order to avoid this, learn to evaluate situations and make objective decisions. You can be assertive without being disrespectful. And when your decisions are born from the knowledge and evidence you possess, you will have firmer grounds to stand on. Determine goals. The first element of success that we need to consider is being able to determine goals successfully. As a major element of success in general, learning to determine goals means putting into action a long-term plan. To avoid this problem in the future, you have to make up some actual goals to aim for. Everything else we'll be discussing needs solid and achievable goals around it for it to be a possibility. If you determine your goals today, then your overall discipline will begin to improve. Devise a plan of action. Now, we have to work out how to make these goals a realistic possibility. What you need to do, then, is come up with a genuine long-term plan of action. A plan of action is so important to make sure that you can reach your potential as a person. We have goals to follow, so now we need to start actively planning and preparing your plan of action for each. Every goal needs to have a genuine plan waiting for it at the end that can be used to make that goal a possibility. Creating the plans. The easiest ways to manage a plan of action is simply to begin researching. Let's say that you want to try and run your own business but lack the discipline to start the process. Your first goal should be to work out the feasibility of setting up that business in your own area. Prioritize tasks. Task prioritization means that we can ensure that our plan of action and our goals are running alongside each other. As we mentioned before, the main goal should be to put your tasks in chronological order. Visualize success. The ability to see yourself doing something is a great way to stay disciplined. We lose discipline when we lose faith in our chances of succeeding at something, anything. If you want to avoid this kind of negative downturn in thinking, then you have to be able to properly visualize what is to come. The reason for doing this is quite simple. When you visualize success, you feel easier about the reality of it happening. Develop self-awareness. A bit of self-awareness can go a long way when it comes to keeping your discipline. Having self-awareness means that you are far more alert to your role in both success and failure. Those who are self-aware can see their own limitations and flaws and are less defensive when someone actually points them out. Eat right. If you eat right, then you give your body the nutrition that it needs to run properly and thus make success more likely. If you eat right, too, you make sure that you have the energy to get through those sapping days. When a problem comes up that tests your discipline, eating right can help you get through that problem. Exercise right. If you start to exercise right, then you give your body an immense lesson, that it can deal with challenges. That you can overcome personal problems. That you are able to fight back. Many of us find it pretty tough to get to that stage, but when you do, self-discipline becomes far easier to get a hold of and actively control. Morning routine. Discipline means making sure that your life has a very specific style and routine to it, and this is no different from having a morning routine. If you can make sure that your mornings are more balanced and have a specific plan to them, then the rest of the day can fall into place. It creates a uniform nature in your mind that takes away the uncertainty at the beginning of the day. By doing this you become far more likely to reach specific targets throughout the day and thus are more likely to be where you want to be, come to the end of the day. Practice self-control. Self-control is such a vital skill that many of us never bother to investigate or use it properly. We all just believe that we have it, but practicing self-control can be such a therapeutic skill. If you want to make sure that your day can go ahead smoothly and that you can retain your discipline, you need a more effective level of self-control or your day will just spiral into confusion. Control your finances. Let's speak again about the importance of having domination over your finances and your overall financial command. By learning to control your finances, then you can make it much easier to control other aspects of your life. Let's say you are looking to make your life easier by having financial control so that you can begin to invest in a long-term business idea. Find your mission. We all have a mission in our lives, and the hardest part of maintaining any form of self-discipline comes from finding your mission. If you don't know what these goals and targets we spoke of are supposed to achieve, you'll never get anywhere. Find what fulfills you. Take the time to really consider every element of what will fulfill you. Is it a personal success? Fame and attention? Financial security? Helping others? Shining a light on a particular issue? Whatever the aims and reasons are, you'll find that what fulfills you can be easily understood if you head down a particular route. To find out what is going to make you feel happiest and most secure, you simply have to start believing and understanding in your own personal beliefs. This is the most powerful part of self-discipline. When you are doing what you believe is the right thing, very little can slow you down or limit your chances of being a genuine success. Ignore naysayers. When you are trying to stand firm and practice self-discipline, you should not be surprised to face opposition. However, you need not succumb to naysayers. You can learn to ignore them. First, determine whether what they are saying is valid. Sometimes people tell you well-meaning things in a hurtful manner, without intending to. Sift through the words to see areas in which you can make improvements and use the criticism to improve yourself. Have the end in sight? It is vital that you have the end in sight at all times. Of course, you don't want to be so caught up in the end product that you forget to work on the process. However, it would help to remember what you are working towards. This way, even when things get difficult, you will have the needed self-discipline to keep going. Limit distractions. Distractions come in many forms. Few people have the luxury to work in solitude. Every now and then, you may find someone poking in to check up on you or someone stopping by to chat with you because they are bored. You may also find yourself answering phone calls and checking email. You need to know beforehand how you will deal with such distractions. This is because you may find yourself wasting a lot of time on things that lessen productivity. Limiting distractions is part of self-discipline. Finish what you start. You need to promise yourself that you will finish whatever you start. If you make it a habit to finish projects, you will gain the self-discipline needed to improve your life for the better. Half-finished projects are a sign of disorganization and a lack of motivation. Start by finishing smaller projects as soon as you start them. This way, you will be in a better position to complete other projects that need your attention. Chapter 13. The Pitfalls of Improving Self-Discipline. Discipline is by far the most important virtue. After all, every single other virtue relies on a strong discipline. That being said, in the process of developing any quality or skill, there are certain risks associated with it. Jealousy. As a direct result of becoming more disciplined, your accomplishments will be more impressive. Some of the people around you are likely to feel personally threatened by your success. It's not their higher self that is threatened, it is their identity. After all, if you are able to do so much, what does this say about them? When you are close to someone, your identities will make an agreement behind your backs. They will decide to coordinate efforts to make sure that both of you don't change. However, when you are improving your discipline, you will experience some of the greatest changes in your life. If the people close to you are weak and are controlled by their identity, they may lash out at you when they see you becoming a better version of yourself. This might manifest itself in blunt, "you have changed," comments, or it may show with more subtle jabs at your newfound success. These sorts of comments or actions are particularly dangerous because their identity isn't the only force trying to hold you back. Your identity is trying to do exactly the same thing. Their identity is using whatever methods it can to try to give your identity the fuel it needs to retake control. When you hear these sorts of comments, laugh them off. If they make you angry, use that as fuel to become more disciplined. If they make you question what you are doing, remember that their comments don't come from genuine concern, but rather they come from a place of insecurity. In some cases, their jealousy will cause them to somehow try to sabotage your success in more sinister ways. For example, a boss or a coworker who tries to prevent you from getting a promotion. Or a friend who attempts to sabotage your marriage. Because you don't necessarily know who will be offended by your success and who will lash out, it is best to remain humble and downplay your accomplishments whenever possible. Naturally, if you are trying to sell something or are running a business, it is a good idea to talk about what you are doing at every opportunity. But make sure to intersperse your sales pitch with a self-deprecating comment or two. Not everyone is controlled by their identity. In fact, many people will be overjoyed by your new zest for life. They will encourage you, they will push you to the next level, and they will want some of what you have made for yourself. Always remember who celebrates your success. These people should be treasured. Perfectionism. There is a feedback loop between self-discipline and trying to be the best version of yourself you can possibly be. As your discipline increases, you will need to seek out new challenges to stretch your abilities. This means that you are constantly looking for ways to improve yourself. In order to continue to stretch your abilities, your self-discipline will need to improve in order to compensate. If you can enter into this feedback loop, you will be able to rapidly transform your life. This transformation is generally positive, but the side effects can be a certain amount of neurotic perfectionism. Having so many things you can do to make your life better should make you feel optimistic. However, some of the time you may feel overwhelmed by all of the different parts of your life you will eventually need to work on. People respond to perfectionism in 3 different ways. First, some people will try to do everything at once. They will want to improve their fitness, their career, their diet, their courage/vulnerability, their education, and start meditating all at the same time. If you try to do this, you will probably only last for a short period of time before your motivation disappears and you revert to the same habits you had in the beginning, or possibly even degenerate below your baseline. The second typical response to perfectionism is to do nothing at all. You may feel like you will never be able to improve all of these different aspects of your life, so you don't end up improving any of them. This is a form of paralysis by analysis. Prioritize and execute. Jocko Willink, former Navy SEAL commander, find 1 or 2 aspects of your life, which need to be improved, create a plan lasting anywhere from 2 to 12 weeks, execute your plan. After you have followed through with your program, reevaluate, and create another plan. Do not feel like everything needs to be improved all at once or even within the following couple of years. Decide what is going to have the biggest impact right now and focus on that. You can move on to the other aspects of your life when it is the right time. Losing flexibility. In recent decades, the bodybuilding and powerlifting community has learned to embrace the importance of stretching and other mobility-based exercises. Muscle-bound beasts like Kelly Starrett have been able to earn a comfortable living teaching lifter how to increase their range of motion. This is in stark contrast to the 17 exercises for giant triceps approach. Why are gym rats suddenly so focused on mobility? The answer is actually fairly self-evident. If you move a muscle through a range of motion for years, particularly if it is a partial range of motion, you lose flexibility in that joint over time. So, if you go into the gym and push heavy iron day in and day out without stretching, you will become more and more immobile. Bodybuilders don't have to move like ballerinas, but the gradual loss of range of motion from resistance exercises can limit the sorts of exercises which they can perform, and, in some cases, it can result in pain or injury. Fortunately, for serious lifters, it turns out that it is actually fairly easy to maintain and improve flexibility by performing certain mobility exercises every day. Note, the problem is not that the lifters are too strong or too muscular. There are plenty of examples of very strong muscular people who are also totally mobile and healthy. Instead, the joint problems emerge in the process of developing muscularity and strength. This distinction is important when we draw our connection back to discipline. Discipline has a lot of the same properties as a muscle. And if you use it every single day without stretching, it can become tight and immobile. There are two implications of this analogy. One of them is literal, and the other is figurative. However, both of these implications are important for someone who is putting in a strong effort into developing their discipline. The first, more literal implication, is that in the process of becoming disciplined, there is a tendency to become too structured and orderly, losing one's ability to adapt in the process. Fortunately, it is possible to become extremely disciplined while maintaining your adaptability at the same time. One strategy for maintaining adaptability is to dedicate some period of the day to free time. This doesn't have to be purely recreational time, however, it shouldn't be dedicated to any particular activity. You could spend this time reading, writing, or working on projects which you normally wouldn't have the time to get around to doing. Another technique you can use to maintain your flexibility is to push yourself and try to do something which you aren't sure you can actually complete. This will have the added benefit of testing the limits of your discipline. Many people drastically underestimate their capacity for discipline until they actually test it. A good example would be a casual hiker deciding to test themselves on a more difficult mountain. By doing this, it takes them out of their comfort zone and also pushes their limits. The second, more figurative loss of flexibility is a loss of spirit. You don't want to lose your playfulness in the process of developing your unshakable resolve. It is important to remain goofy, silly, and to remember to smile. Living a serious, disciplined life without any jokes is not only dreary, but it is also ineffective. This approach to discipline is more brittle and more prone to psychological problems than discipline interspersed with humor. People in some of the most difficult professions, miners, Sherpas, Special Forces operators, are known for their constant ribbing and sense of humor. These are some of the toughest people on the planet, but they usually understand that humor is as important as anything else in their line of work. Remember to laugh, joke, or smile during the most challenging moments. Don't let your pursuit of discipline turn you into a dull, humorless person. Instead, let your discipline make you confident enough to make fun of yourself and not take life so seriously. Conclusion. Self-discipline is your ability to be sure to do things without someone. I have seen no quality or characteristic that has an overwhelming effect on the success of entrepreneurs. If you want to be a successful millionaire and entrepreneur, no doubt the single most important characteristic that you will guarantee your success in every area of your life is self-discipline. There is no point in setting long-term or short-term goals if you are not going to get the self-control and self-discipline to do what's demanded to bring them to fruition. You will reach your aims if you've got self-discipline that is high. Look around your life and notice the difference between people who have no discipline or very little and elevated levels of discipline. People that fail do what losers do, and the winners follow through and do what needs to be done. Losers aren't prepared to pay the price, even if they are aware of what they are supposed to do, they don't do it. Why? Because they do not have sufficient self-discipline to follow through on their commitments, to themselves and others. Millionaires realize that they have get in the habit of directing and assessing themselves with achieving outcomes and consequently to pay a price for success. They do exactly what it takes and don't allow tension. That doesn't mean that if you exercise high self-discipline that you need to sacrifice every pleasure in your lifetime. You need to learn to play hard and work hard in establishing your priorities and to exercise judgment. Should you learn to have self-discipline, you'll realize confidence and your self-esteem enhances because you have more control on your company activities and life. A way of raising your self-discipline would be to have a fanatical focus on the goals you want to accomplish and what you must do in order to achieve them. Identify those areas of your daily life that are currently stagnating due to inactivity and make a commitment now to develop self-discipline in those regions. Replicating an action or behavior on a regular basis until it becomes embedded in your profile develops habits. It may take a lot of willpower to do what you've got to do. But remember that self-discipline becomes easier exercises. You have the power to restrain your thoughts and direct them to perform your bidding. Make a bid to improve your self-discipline by controlling yourself that your behavior would abruptly change if, while you were having a heated debate with a member of their household, the doorbell rang. You would then be able to control yourself and save yourself just from embarrassment. Because you wanted to do so. Deliberately, believe the form of ideas that you want, and you will develop into a person of self-control. Avoid procrastination at all costs rather than delay until tomorrow what you can do now. It is a huge waste of energy and can result in failure. One sure way to develop self-discipline would be to connect with people that are self-disciplined and exhibit self-control that is higher. Remember, like attracts like. You need to surround yourself with the right type of people, and their attributes that are favorable will be contagious. Bear in mind, you have the power within you. You're powerful enough to get the best of yourself. So, make the critical decision today to take control of your destiny and yourself by developing your self-control and self-discipline. Pursuing self-discipline requires a certain amount of discomfort in the beginning if you are actively working towards it. Nobody said that the road would be easy, but it is absolutely necessary if you want to change your life. You cannot give up and allow your life to remain the same if you don't want to put in the effort. If you don't give up and give in, you will reach your goal. The road to greatness. The road to greatness is filled with people who have mastered the art of self-discipline. Whether you want to do mediocre or amazing things with your life, it is necessary to harness self-control in every way possible. The more tactics that you are able to apply to your life, the further in life you can go. As a human being, you are only limited by your own mind and expectations for yourself. If you think you can, you will, but if you do not believe in yourself, you won't. Do not let anyone convince you to settle for less than the best. In addition, never convince yourself to settle when you know that you want more in life. It is essential to train yourself to be more self-disciplined so that you can see the results in a reality that you dream about in the corners of your mind.